Great evening, holy brothers and sisters! We want to introduce first Gedale Fenster. He literally probably said no to me at least 100 times. Am I kidding?
101.
101. We got to get you to come to Staten Island. No. But it's going to be amazing. This is my community. No. Over and over and over again. But as you can see, he's here. And I have the biggest hakaras hatov to him. Hopefully you'll get a little glimpse of what it is to me, why it's so important for him to be brought here. So we'll give a little bit of a background on him, so you'll know a little bit of what his past is like if you don't feel like reading his bio online. Gedale is a powerful speaker to see with dynamically delicious divine delivery. Helps to rehab tons of people with inspiring advice. Tough love is necessary, but deep down, he's really nice. Born in South America, a very modern family. Mom, a clothing designer, 2 sisters, and he. They moved to Florida. English, he did not know. And University, Florida, International. Educated in his uncle's electronics store, he worked commissions to make money even more. Public adjuster, his company is around still to see. People's Insurance Claims Center, PICC. Gedale is a powerful speaker to see with dynamic, delicious, divine delivery. Helps to rehab tons of people with inspiring advice. Tough love is necessary, but deep down he's always nice. He hit rock bottom, depressed with a brain fog. No connection to Hashem, broken down on a log. At a house minyan, he found a book by Rabbi Kramer. When there's no Kedusha, there's poverty, and that was a true game changer. Rav Nachman's teachings transformed his life. He made money now with a true loving wife. Tzedakah brought blessings exponentially, and podcasts now to thousands eventually. Gedale is a powerful speaker to see with a dynamically delicious divine delivery. Helps to rehab tons of people with inspiring advice. And tough love is necessary, but deep down, we know he's nice.
Where in the world did you get this guy from? That is the question. Where in the world did you guys get this guy from? I still remember the Umar massage. If everybody's familiar with the podcast, you remember that's what got me here. Nothing. I love Staten Island. God bless it. But I'm telling you, if there's one thing you need to talk about in life is persistence. There you go. And there's a thing called in life, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. As long as you squeak enough, as long as you hang around the trying to get a haircut, you're gonna get one. Hang around the barber shop, you're gonna get one. And we should learn from this. We should really learn from this on how to speak to our Creator and never to give up. Because this is exactly what you did every day, every 2 hours. Blocked. Okay, I can't block him. I can't be Moroccan. I'm not gonna block him. Okay, let me block him now. Again. And as I blocked him and unblocked him, there came the message again. So I said, I have to give it to you. And it was just that window, and Baruch Hashem, we're here. We're here with also Lazer Brody. And we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, a few things, just to really relate and bring it down on how really we can open up the pipelines spiritually, mentally, emotionally, etc. So I'm going to talk about today, we speak about the connection with Abraham. When Abraham saw guests, what did he do? Abraham ran. Spiritually, your intention, the way you do things, your ability to have zerizut, Reb Nachman says, is directly related to your level of emunah. Your level, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Reb Nachman tells us that you could, for example, give charity to somebody. Here you go. You're going to get 6 blessings. But if you give him a kind word, that same transaction becomes 17 blessings. The same transaction that you just gave the guy $1, but you gave him a kind word, you get 17. Rab Nachman says that when you do things with joy, you transform whatever you're doing into, there's category 1 storms, into category 5 storm. Right now, we're in category business in Florida. But whatever we do, it's the attitude towards it. So this is why Rab Nachman advised us to wake up in the morning with zerzut. And he says our level of emunah, your level of faith, determines the amount of energy you have. Period. Your level of faith. When there's energy, there's faith. When there's no energy, there's a lack of faith. Sluggishness, God forbid, is a sign that you don't believe in what you're doing. And this is a problem, because the way we show up, remember, the curses didn't come to us because we didn't do the mitzvahs. The curses come to us when we don't do it, when we do them as an obligation, not as an opportunity. So this is, if you take Breast Love 101, it's try to do everything you do 10x. Put a little bit more energy in everything you do. And that is where the energy comes. The energy does not come before. You have to activate it, and that when you activate it, the energy flows. If I waited for energy when I started doing his bodedut or anything I do, it doesn't come before. It comes as I get into motion. And this is where I see today, a lot of us, we're waiting for the energy, we're waiting for things to happen. They don't come. It comes afterwards. And this is where your level of zerizut is your level of emunah. When Abraham Avinu ran to the guest, he knew the importance of running. Because running makes everything completely different. Just like if you ask your son, give me a cup of water, and he runs to get it for you. What would you think of him? Wow. But if he says, what would you want? Like 2020 style, 2022 style. Are you sure? Can't you get it yourself? But he ran to get it to you. I just want to give you that analogy. Ask yourself, what miles per hour are you running spiritually? Ask yourself, 15, 12. Your level of energy is directly related to your level of emunah. And let me explain to you something. You cannot minor in emunah today. Because if you minor in emunah, you're going to major in problems. Bottom line. But if you major in emunah, you're going to minor in problems. Our sages tell us that emunah is a source, faith is a source of all blessings. Wherever you see faith in your life, you will see a blessing in your life. Wherever you don't have faith in your life, you will not see a blessing in your life. So this is where, when we speak about this, and what is faith related to? Faith is related to speech. This month, we are dealing with the consciousness of the snake. We are dealing with the fallen nun of Cheshvan, the floods, the confusion. This is the concept that we say the word modim. Modim means 100. And there's two nuns. There's a fallen nun and there's a straight nun. When a person falls down, it's a sense of, God forbid, falling down. Hard times make you fall down. Your job is to make a tikkun and go straight up. And that's the tikkun in this month. To build resilience at all cost. And in order to think greater than you feel today, you need faith. There's no other way. Explain to me practically how you can think greater than your current situation. How? Without taking any substance. How can I practically think greater than I feel today? It's not possible. Only through faith. And that's what we have to work on today. We have to work on faith, and faith is related to speed. Speed. Just like you go to work, it's fast. You got to do the same thing spiritually. If you take up the tempo in both areas in your life, you will see a blessing in both. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything in life. So what Rab Nachman does is he activates us. He gets us activated. He gets the ratzon up. He gets the desire up. Truth is, anytime we fail, it's not really to knock us down. The whole purpose of a person having an obstacle today, it's only to what? To fuel the desire. Obstacles are not meant to break you. Obstacles are meant to make you. And if you don't have a good relationship with obstacles, or the way we're doing things. And I see sometimes we walk into a synagogue, 3 miles per hour, 4 miles. There's just people have no energy. There's no energy. What's going on here? There's no energy. There's no energy because there's no faith. When there's no faith, there's no energy. You have to scream. Sometimes like Lazer, you have to scream. Go to Uman. You think people are getting robbed over there. People are screaming for their lives because they're activating their hearts. And we all know there's tremendous amount of pain in this world. But when you let it out, I've already taught my kids, 3, 4 years old, get used to screaming. Get used to screaming. It's good for you. Screaming to your creator instead of holding it in for 25 years and go to therapy for 20 years. I don't know, which one would you like better? I don't think there's that many therapists in the Brussels circles. Do you know that? They're out of business. You know why? Because people are already screaming to God. And you scream to God, you don't need to hold it in. I hate my husband for the past 10 years. A good Moroccan Breslov woman, boy, she would have let you have it right away. It wouldn't have gone 3 hours. But there's a concept that the opposite of depression is expression. You have to find a way to activate it. You have to activate your heart. You have to let it out. You have to talk. It's a problem. I don't know where we became so silent. And this is where Reb Nachman tells us how you wake up. The Shulchan Aruch says, a Persian should strengthen himself like a lion in the morning so that he is the one who wakes up the shachar. This means he has to wake up and rise with zerizut, without a trace of sluggishness. The trait of zerizut is connected to emunah. There's a very simple concept in life. Anytime you put a low effort in anything in life, it's because you're looking at it as an obligation, not as an opportunity. And if you don't look at something with opportunity, that does not activate kavana. You can't activate kavana. And kavana is where all the blessings come. When a person has kavana, when he does something, that activates the blessing. If I say something without kavana, without intention, it doesn't go anywhere. Kavana activates intention. But first, before you do it, we have to develop ratzon. We have to develop a little bit of fuel. A little bit of zest. That is what it's needed. And when you do that, you will feel like $1 million. Your spiritual task will feel like you're in another world. But any single time that I'm bogged down with prayer, I'm bogged down, another Shabbat, I'm bogged down with this, another this, another holiday, you're not even there. You're not even there. And this is where you shouldn't say, okay, it's not for me. You should cry out. You should cry out from your heart and recognize, I can't believe I got to the level where I don't feel anything. You shouldn't just say, okay, not for me. You should cry out and say, I cannot believe this is the distance I've had with my Creator, that I can't even feel the words. My heart is so like a stone that I can't even hear those words. And that's what we're missing today. We all want energy, but if you don't have faith, you cannot activate energy. And Reb Nachman tells us, this is the way you wake up in the morning. Look, it's a brand new day. God recreates the day. It's a brand new prayer. It's never existed before. Everything is brand new. That's exactly how you have to live your life. If you live your life like that, life is constantly recreating for you. But when we hold on to things, when we don't do anything with all this trauma and pain, what happens? We sit with therapists for years and years and nothing happens. And this is the gullus of the Shechina. When we talk about what Rav Nachman says, the gullus of the Shechina is in exile, is when people are sad and depressed. I'm not talking about clinical depression, but this is when I feel the energy here. That's what the chizuk we need. This is the month where you can Take that pain and really use that pain to fuel you. Abraham ran. He didn't walk. He ran. Great people run to things. They look at it as an opportunity. They're not walking around like it's an obligation. Because what you focus is the energy you get into anything. And this is the key to, this is pretty much the beginning of everything. Because if we don't have this, if our attitude is off, people show up, they give you a wonderful resume when they want to hire, they're asking for the job, and then the person shows up, and you're like, is there stolen identity here? Like, what happened to you? That's the way we show up sometimes. So this is why Reb Nachman, it's okay to be brokenhearted. That's the time you yearn. But you cannot settle for mediocrity spiritually. You just can't do it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to change the game. Get people more activated, because when you have energy, that energy will show up. You'll show up with that energy to your wife. And you'll show up that energy to your kids. And that energy will flow everywhere. But when there's no energy, you don't affect anybody, you infect people. And when there's no emunah, there's no energy. Just related. No emunah, no energy. Because without emunah, we cannot think greater than our current circumstances. And Reb Nachman says this plenty. He says this sadness is a very, very evil trait. And it's not about meaning the same thing when a person has confusion and a person is very sluggish and he muddles his prayer and he muddles things and he does things with his head is somewhere else. It's all due to a lack of faith. And this is exactly the bite of the serpent. We're going to talk about 4 causes of anxiety. But the most important thing, even if you're going on a date, even whatever you're doing, brand new date, brand new this, don't walk around, it's the same thing over and over again. Another day, same. Because what you say is what you get. The only reason I've had, I think, consecutive classes for the past, 1,200 classes is because of this attitude. The attitude of renewal, the attitude is today's my first day giving a class, tomorrow's my first day giving a class, everything is new. Today's workout is new. Today's relationship is new. The whole mikvah, concept of the mikvah, renewal. Why? Because that is our life. Our life is renewal. And if we can't renew, we will expire. And then we will drop out. And this is something where I'm telling you right now, there's so much light I've gotten his Bodhidu prayers that I felt like a person on cocaine. I've gotten spiritual experiences where I felt like I was on top of the world. And I didn't do nothing. I didn't buy anything. It was all done through prayer. That is what Reb Nachman brings us. He says when a person has simcha in what he does, he transforms the simple action into a higher level than nefesh, ruach, and neshama. He takes the simple, but it's the attitude. The minute the attitude is off, you don't get anything. The joy, when a person has joy when he does something, and yes, you could worry about something that's not going to happen tomorrow, or you could just be in the moment. When you're in the moment and you're able to have that kavanah, that transforms absolutely everything you do. And when you do that, that's where the blessings comes. Blessings come, simcha breaks every obstacle, and simcha breaks all the gezerot. That is the key. That is where we have to get into. And we say many times, not all successful people are happy, but all happy people are successful. Not all successful people are happy, but all happy people are successful. That you're guaranteed. Whether it's with your children, either way you have to do it anyway. Do you understand? Either way you have to do it. Either way, you're going to pray, you're going to Shabbat, whatever you're going to do anyway. Why? What's with the attitude? Why can't we just turn up the attitude a little bit? What are you holding on to? Like what are we buying? Have we bought into this program that the dullness? And the worst thing in life is not to do more. It's to recognize that we don't need more information. We need more connection. There's a lack of connection between the heart and the mind. When the heart and the mind, the distance between the heart and the mind, that's why we can't do anything and we're not getting anything in the world we do. And there's nothing worse than walking into synagogues and walking into places in life where nothing's rising. Nothing's rising. And this is what Hasidus brings us to the table. It's a gift. Because otherwise, it's nothing more than worshiping tradition, or sometimes we worship codes of law, but we're not worshiping God. Because godliness is joy. You have godliness, you have the Shekhinah in your life, there's joy. A creator dwells with a person who's in a state of simcha. Doesn't stay with the person who's azvut. So let's talk about some of the reasons why we could be losing some of that simcha. Let's talk about some of the reasons, what's causing us. I think I picked up pretty much 4 reasons of why are we not in the moment, and how do we get there? And I think you're going to relate to all these. And I said to myself, what, out of all the thousands and thousands of people, common with phone calls, situations, what are the 4 common things that I get that people end up becoming, God forbid, either anxious or depressed or whatever it is? Again, I may be right, I may be wrong, there could be others, but I pretty much nailed it to these 4. And I can pretty much guarantee where you're going to see sadness, you're going to have a problem with time. Time and consciousness are directly related. Time only exists in an absence of consciousness. Let's remember that. When you have consciousness, time no longer exists for you. For example, let's say you're on a great date, or you're about to close a deal for $1 million. You're in the moment. Or anything that you're in the moment, anything you like we say, time flies when you're having fun. We've said that a lot, but when you're not there, time contracts. So there's a direct relationship between time and consciousness. Our goal in life is to develop the consciousness so that time does not affect us. Because remember, what happens when time does affect us? Imagination takes over. That means imagination cannot exist if there's consciousness. If I have 100% trust, where does paranoia exist? Where does worry exist? It can't, because when I trust, I take action, and I'm all in. There's no room for paranoia. There's only room for fear. Fear induces paranoia. Fear induces worry. Fear induces all of these things. But when we rise in consciousness, time no longer exists. So when I tell you I need you to talk to your creator for 20 minutes, some of you, 20 minutes could be like, oh my God, I have never even been where I haven't touched my phone for 20 minutes. I don't even know what that looks like. 20 minutes talking to myself? Impossible. But if you know 20 minutes is nothing, it's just like your kid telling you, how long is it going to take to Orlando? 3 hours. 3 hours? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? For a kid, he doesn't understand the concept of time, of consciousness. So time is a problem. You tell a kid, you'll get it in a half an hour. He'll go out of his mind. So our job in life is to develop our consciousness where time no longer exists. And when time no longer exists, there's no dinyon, which is imagination, because it's the imagination that's causing the problem. the medame, the imagination, the paranoia, the thinking of the worst case scenario, things that don't even exist. I mean, I know people buying toilet paper after COVID. Why toilet paper? I have no idea. But you could see when there's hysteria, people run to the toilet paper because that's where their head's at. That's where their head's at. God forbid you should run out of toilet paper, right? That should be your... The world's coming to an end. Let me grab onto toilet paper. Baruch Hashem. Thank God. I just want you to explain. When you're not thinking straight, your mind will go to the point of even getting toilet paper. Yes. Because that's where your head's at. Toilet paper. Think of where your head's been when you haven't been focused. And you'll see. This is not the first time. What happened with the Jews? Moshe didn't come down in time. They freaked out. Next thing you know, they're serving a golden calf. From receiving the Torah to serving a golden calf. What happened? Because when we lose track of consciousness, that means if you're not constantly working on fueling your mind and growing, you're automatically getting defeated. And when the imagination takes over, the rest is history. Your imagination will take you to dark places that don't even exist. That don't even exist. 90% things don't even happen to people. 90% of the things that people worry about don't even happen. So imagine you're wasting 90% of your life on things that never even happened. And you're so worried about controlling and not letting go. So what do you want to blame God for? What do we want to blame God for? What our ego did to us? But when there's no private conversation with your Creator, when there's no consciousness, when there's no growth, yes, this is what we get. This is what we get. So let's talk about the four things. So remember, the snake is no longer inside of us, outside of us, the snake is inside of us. And the purpose of the snake is to make us depressed. The snake is obsessed with control, and the more control, our controls, the way we control, why we control things, is only because of insecurity. If we were secure, we have bitachon, no paranoia, nothing to worry about. We spoke about yesterday that Abraham Avinu, he was 75 years old when he got told Lech Lecha, and he was also in the word bitachon, which is trust, 75. Ma yeh, what will be? 75. What was? Lama? Why? 75. So there you go. 75. Bitachon. You have 75, you don't have to worry about the future, you don't have to worry about the past, and you don't have to worry about getting out of comfort. There's the solution. Your Creator wants you to trust Him. And to the extent that we fall from that, we fall into anxiety, etc. So the number one thing that's causing most of our sadness, I would say, which remember, when we don't accept pain, the more we control things, the more we get angrier, and angrier leads to the rest, is number one, self-obsession. Obsessed with self. Everything's about me. There's a guy that asked him, what's your problem? He says, my problem is Aleph Bet. He says, Aleph Bet? Anochi Bereshit. Everything's about me. Aleph Bet. Self-obsession. We walk into a room, look who's talking about me. Everything's about you. The number one problem is when we have low self-esteem, we become the center of the world. So you think that everything happens is about you. And if you're thinking about yourself all day long, you're going to guarantee to be anxious. The more self-obsessed we are, the more miserable we are. Because believe it or not, you were not created in this world to just think about yourself all day long. That's self-centeredness. Self-centeredness is the root of low self-esteem. The solution to self-centeredness is what? Humility. Humility is not, it's not about me. That means somebody could say something to you, Things can happen and you don't automatically predict the worst case scenario. You do that because you're self-centered. And that is a result of lack of self-esteem. And when we lack self-esteem, our ego expands and we become the center of the universe. Everything's about you. If the coffee machine broke at Starbucks, my mazal, everything's bad. Everything's about you. Not everything's about you. It's raining, it's about you. So right away, there's no way you can have happiness unless you start becoming humble. And humility means not to be so self-centered. To look at the whole picture. To look at the whole picture. You have to ask yourself, can I look at the whole picture or is everything about me? If you're saying all the time, I'm getting insulted all the time, this is a sign you're self-centered. Because at the end of the day, you could only get insulted if you take it personal. If you don't take it personal, you can't get insulted. It's not possible for you to get insulted unless you take it personal. And the reason why we take things personal is because we're holding that energy inside of us. That's number one. Number two, social comparison. The classic stay in your lane. If you compare your life to other people, which is again, same concept, it is going to guarantee you to become. And not only does the Yetzer Hara specializes, he custom makes whatever you're lacking, he shows you. If you have no hair, you're going to see everybody with so much hair of Shefa that you'll be the baldest guy in the room. If you have no kids, you're going to see strollers everywhere. If you're broke, you're going to see everybody's making money easy. If you're single, everybody's married but me. The Yetzer Hara is custom made to you. Custom made. So what happens? You compare your life. And when you compare, you despair. See how he's got you? He's got you. He's got you. As long as he's got you out of your own lane, he's got you. The minute you compare, the Gemara says, when a person focuses on what's not his, he loses what he seeks, so that cuts the law of attraction. And whatever he does, he won't appreciate it, so he'll lose it too. Do not compare. And if you want somebody else's life, make sure you take the whole package. Not just the highlights that you see. But what are you looking at somebody else's life for anyway? We all have problems in life. Nobody has the easy. We all have it. Just some of us work harder than others. Some of us work harder. Some of us trains have flipped. But we're not in this world. This is not a world of wholeness. This is a broken world that we have to come in and bring light. And it's a matter of whether or not you can bring light into your situation. But to say, oh, this guy's got the perfect life, she's got the perfect life, it's the most ridiculous thing you could ever say. And not only that, it's taking away from what you're supposed to be doing. What are you doing in somebody's lane? What are you doing? You don't have enough work to do in your own lane? You don't have enough work to do? So when you work on yourself, you recognize, oh my God, I have no time to look at other people's lives. I'm busy. Social comparison. The minute you compare yourself, you're going to come to despair. Bottom line. Compare leads to despair. So ask yourself, are you socially comparing yourself to people? The only thing you should do, if there's people that are successful, be grateful for them or ask them for help. But to give them jealousy, evil eye, want bad for them, compare your life to theirs, and that's what social media does. It's unattainable goals. Some of these goals are unattainable. Some communities have eating disorders because they want to have unattainable goals. When in the world did you have these eating disorders at this rampant stage like this? Who's heard of such a thing like this? Because you compare, you despair, and you lose yourself. And this is where you have to have simcha that you don't compare. The whole point is when you have emunah, this is his life, this is my life. And remember, we all have different missions. Not everybody has the same mission. So what are you getting involved in somebody else's life for? What in the world are you getting there? So that's a guaranteed way to lose, because anytime You are jealous is an absence of emunah. And there's no way your life is going to get better because you're lacking emunah. So there you have to actually stay in your lane. And in life, it's funny, because it's exactly the desire of what you want is blocking you from receiving. So not only are you in the wrong lane, but the desire stops you from receiving. For example, let's say your friend is really popular, and then you want to be just as popular as him, and you're going to try to be so nice to everybody so you're popular. It's actually going to block you because people are going to see that you're desperate. The more you want to be liked, the less people will like you. The more honor you want, the less you're going to get it. The more attention you want, the less you're going to get it. So it works. It works actually the opposite, because you cannot attract from scarcity. You can only attract from feeling abundant. You cannot attract. You will not attract nothing but problems. When you live in scarcity, you can't attract. It knocks off the law of attraction. Because you're saying, I am poor, but I want rich. It doesn't work, because you're living in scarcity. You cannot. If you feel abundant, you don't even have to ask for things. They'll just come to you on whatever you're feeling in life. And it works 1,000 times. Because you don't ask. Anytime you want something out of lack, it's coming from sadness. It's coming from, I'm not good enough. I am not good. I need this. And that itself is exactly the problem. So when you have social comparison, it's basically sabotage. Blessing sabotage. How many times do I get? I don't understand. She's not so from, and she's doing great, and I'm from, and I'm not doing great. Are you playing God now? Are we so busy that we don't have enough time that we're actually playing God? Who deserves to be punished? Who doesn't? Why is I'm up 10-0 and she's only up 3-1, and how come I'm not getting more? What's going on with people's heads? Are we in elementary school here? But these are the phone calls you get from people. You're shocked. And why am I not receiving? Number one, you're not in the right lane. What are you looking at your neighbor for? The blessing came in our lives is when we didn't stare at other people's tents. That was one of the blessings. Don't stare. Don't stare at another person's tent. And if you do want it, you better take the whole package. Mother-in-law, everything. Correct. It's not a buffet where you get to pick this I'll take, this I don't want to take. This I'll take, and that I don't want to take. You have to take the whole package. Many people say, Gedale, I want to be just like you doing class. Okay, come to my house, 3:30 in the morning, and I'll teach you. Come, 3:30 in the morning. You're more than welcome. Are you ready to have some discipline? Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, go somewhere else. But you wanted this, there's a price. Nothing's for free. Nothing's for free. You want it, you got to put the work in. You got to put the work in. But don't tell me you want to do this and you don't want to put the work in. That you cannot do. So if you want to be in shape, there's a price to be in shape. There's a price. You want to be in a higher level, you want to be happy. There's a price for happiness too. It takes tremendous amount of focus. Everything has a price for it. But there's also a price for not doing it too. So in life, you have to ask yourself, what price do I want? I'm going to pay a price. I might as well get something out of it. So there's a price for doing and there's a price for not doing. There's definitely a price for both. But nothing, that's not an option. That's not an option. Number 3, outcome obsession. Outcome obsession. I'm so anxious, I'm waiting to get married. I'm so anxious, I'm waiting to this. I'm so anxious. Outcome obsession. That is the number 3 way to be miserable. Just wait for the outcome. Wait for something to happen so you can be happy. I'll be happier when my wife becomes nicer to me. Take a number. Take a number. Grab some snacks. Book a 5-hour massage with Lazer and he'll break every bone in your body. Take a number. I'll be happier when this happens. And the minute you wait, you make your life on a condition, that's it. You're already lost. It's the decision, not the condition. You need to make more decisions and less conditions. You cannot tell your Creator, I will be happy when this happens. I will be happy when this happens. Doesn't work like that. Does not work like that. The spiritual law of attraction, I already told you, is joy. When you are happy, you attract things. And things that you never even thought about. But if you wait on conditions, you are replicating the sin of Adam and Eve. What was the sin? They separated the fruit from the tree. They separated the process from the price. You know why we love the etrog so much? Why do we hold on to that etrog? Why are we spending $300 on an etrog? What's with the etrog? $300, $500. People spend a lot of money on an etrog. It has to be perfect. Because the etrog, the fruit, tastes exactly like the bark of the tree. It's perfect. It's being present in life. When you look at an etrog, the Gemara in Sukkah 35 talks about it's the perfection. It's when you look at an etrog, that's you in perfection. The perfection of being present. Living a life of being present. That is a present. You realize that being present is a present? That's what we do. We're looking at that's the tachlis. The goal is to be like the etrog. To see everything that the process and the prize is one. You should be just as happy as when you're single than when you got married. If we could master that level, that we could master the process, and that the prize would not taste anything different. And this is exactly what happened on the third day of creation. The earth disobeyed, and that process became two things. So now all of us say, I can't wait to make a deal so I can breathe. No. Breathe and you make the deal. When you make the process the prize by being present, by not being what's the scoreboard? Waiting for the outcome. I can't wait for the house to be over. I can't wait for this to be happy. You're finished. That's already you lost. Because guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen in life? You think you're going to stop there? Oh, the worst thing we could do sometimes is gambling. You win if you could only just stop. If it was that easy. But guess what? The house always wins, doesn't it? You don't win. You could win 10 times, but then don't worry. They'll get you the 11th time. They'll get you the 12th. They'll pick you up from the airplane. They'll get you. They'll give you the attractive suite. Somehow or another, they're getting you in there because you can't stop. You can't stop chasing, and they know. And they work on that model of psychology. You will continue to chase because we are obsessed with the outcome. How many people have really, I won, that's it, I'm good. Casinos wouldn't be open today. Vegas would be a swap shop. It would be a flea market. If everybody could stop gambling. Do you understand? You would see a flea market. People selling melons. But clearly, it's the case. So this teaches us a big lesson in life. Do not determine your life on outcomes. Determine your life on conditions and states. I am choosing to be besimcha. I don't care if the house is ready, if the house is not ready. If this is good, if my wife is nice to me today, mazel tov. If she's not nice to me, mazel tov also. If my husband's nice to me, wonderful. If he's not, it's wonderful also. You know why? Because our life is like the moon. It's not going to be full all the time. The weather today is amazing. Tomorrow it won't be amazing probably. And the next day, things change. It's called life. Life happens to those who are busy planning. You gotta live in the moment. You gotta live in the moment. I'm telling you right now, anytime you say to yourself, I'm waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for that. Take a ticket. And even if you do get it, now you're just doubled up on something else. But when you're just making it a condition of I'm no longer separating. I'm going to be happy with whatever happens. Then what happens is people want to be around people that are happy. But people don't want to be around people that are desperate. And when you get into chasing things, you become desperate. And when you become desperate, nobody wants to buy from a desperate person. Nobody wants to marry a desperate person. Nobody wants to be around a desperate person. Because they take from them. Neediness. You're not a giver, you're a taker. And people could feel it. We don't want to act desperate. Fake it at least. Fake it. Fake it till you make it. Do what you have to do. But stop waiting for outcomes. That's why there's so much sadness. Because if you really recognize that the process and the prize is the same thing, I mean, I used to gamble. I've already learned those lessons already. But for me, you teach me one time. You don't have to teach me twice. One time I got it. Thank you for the life lesson, Hashem. Whatever it cost me, thank you. But I know anytime my day is dependent on an outcome. So what happens? Tomorrow, if the stock market's up, I'm going to be happy. If it's down, I'm not going to be happy. My whole life is waiting on the S&P 500. My net worth is my self-worth. Is this the way we're going to live? What are we going to live? You can't live like that because you're a hostage. You're a hostage to conditions. And when you're a hostage to conditions, you're done. Then everything else takes a hit. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And then what's next? That guy's fault, this guy's fault. It's the same pattern over and over again. But we're not learning the pattern. Learn the pattern. Don't separate the process from the prize. Enjoy it as much, and not only will you get it, you'll actually get the prize. But you'll say, okay, wonderful, I got it. And once you have that formula, you let go of control. You do the work, you let go of the control. Work hard, let go of control. Work hard and let go of control. But when we're sitting here controlling the outcome of things, it's just we're playing God, and we're not going to succeed in that. And that's what we're all into this. If this happens, if that happens, if that happens, enjoy the process. Rabbi Rush said it beautifully yesterday. You have to even thank God for the problem itself, because that's part of the process. That's actually part of the process. The process will never be straight. You'll have many U-turns. That is part of the process. The breakups. How many times have you said, God, if you didn't break my heart, you broke my heart to save my soul? How many times did you guys think the relationship was perfect for you? I can't believe he did it for you. Can't believe he did this to you. He broke your heart, but he saved you. Now you could see it, but before, you didn't see it. You have to master the present moment. Ask yourself today, if you stop chasing, if you just made a conditional happiness, not decisional happiness instead of conditional happiness, that will change your energy. It will change your energy. You'll have much more energy, and you'll continue to do the work. But we don't want to be desperate, sad, desperate. Look at me, I'm not receiving, and everybody else is receiving. You're not going to attract nothing but problems. And number 4, believing the challenge is bigger than you. Whatever doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. That's the 4th most common call or situation that I get with people. The situation happens, and they don't believe. Sometimes I'm saying, I see their situations. I said, are you threatened or are you excited? I'm threatened. That's the problem. God does not give you something you can't handle. He won't. He will never give you something you can't handle. He will never give you something you can't handle. But he will give you challenges. But if you believe that the challenge is bigger than you, automatically it's going to invoke anxiety, panic, hysteria. But if you believe that you can handle it and it's good for you, then you will be excited. Channel your anxiety to excitement. That is the most important 4th lesson. It's bottom line. Are you going to get challenged? Yes, because without challenges, you won't change. How else are we going to change for each other? You have to get challenged. But if you look at the challenge and say, and the difference is when you feel challenged, you're focused. When you feel threatened, you're completely fearful. You're frazzled. So whether you're handling a challenge correctly or not, is to the degree that your belief is this I can handle versus I can't handle this. And whatever you do, you think you can, you don't think you can't also. But if we don't, these four things, self-obsession, number one, stop thinking about yourself all the time. The whole world was created for you, but not about you. Number two, compare, you will despair. Stay in your lane. Number three, outcome obsession. Look at the etrog, hang on to an etrog if you have to. And remember the etrog represents the process and the prize becoming one. No conditions anymore, decisions. Decisions to be present. And number four, believing that you can handle the challenge with excitement, not being threatened by the opposite. May Hashem help us all, that we should all merit to now refocus our energy. Once we eliminate these behaviors, and we change the foot, that will give us more joy. And when we have more joy and presence, then whatever we could do, we could tackle it with more. All my classes are on Spotify under my name, Gedale Fenster. I strongly recommend listening to the daily podcast. It will program your mind. It will change your focus. Because in life, you get what you focus on. It's funny, if there's one thing that we just have to watch all day long, is what we focus on. If you can master your focus, you master everything else. I want to introduce to you Lazer Brody.
Okay, first to know, anybody in the back that still doesn't have a seat, there are seats in the front, feel free. Don't ever hesitate to walk in if we're in the middle of a speech. You can still come in. We'd love for you to be comfortable and enjoy the night that we're having here. One of the most exciting parts of tonight, just to give you a little heads up on what's going on, next will be Rabbi Lazer Brody, and then following that, we're going to have an open live question and answer session, which is extremely exciting. So whatever you want to be heard, any questions you have in your personal life that you don't mind sharing, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to be able to interact with both of these huge superstars one-on-one, right after the second speech that we're going to be doing. After that's concluded, we're going to do a Marav right here in the shul for anybody that has not davened yet, which at that point, after the question and answer, we'll ask the women to go to the back, or if they want to daven with us, stay behind the mechitzas. So now we're going to move on to our second speaker for the night. And again, anybody who wants seats, please come in. You don't have to stand in the doorway, and enjoy while we introduce Rabbi Lazer Brody. And after the Marav that we do, anybody who is purchasing books or wants signatures or a quick one-on-one time can come up. We'll have time for that afterwards. So it should be an amazing evening. Rabbi Lazer shines bright, his emunah beams. On many platforms online, you can find his streams. He'll connect you to Creator. Find faith today with inspiration in a loving, caring, unique way. Rabbi Lazer Brody was born in Washington, D.C., studied agriculture in Maryland University. In 1970, he moved to Israel, joined the IDF, where he learned to fly and chandel. 19 years in Army combat, then military chaplain, completed 29 years of service therein. He went to Aish HaTorah for rabbinical seminaries and got ordinations from many teachers from all of his rebbes. Reb Lazer shines bright, his emunah beams. On many platforms online you can find his streams. He'll connect you to Creator, find faith today, with inspiration in a loving, caring, unique way. Rabbi Brody is the English emunah translator mouthpiece of worldwide bestseller books Garden of Emunah and Garden of Peace. He also wrote his own gigantic gems of which we speak, including The Trail to Tranquility and The Path to Your Peak. He is dubbed the voice of emunah by Israel National Radio. And as a sought-after inspirational speaker around the world, he does go. A life coach, personal trainer, and holds holistic health. We can all gain from Rebbe's massive knowledge and wealth. Reb Lazer shines his emunah beams. On many platforms online, you can find his streams. He'll connect you to Creator, find faith today, with inspiration in a loving, caring, and unique way. Rabbi Brody.
Thank you, Lazer, and thanks, Gedale. We're able to say Shechianu, not only on the berries that Lazer gave never ate, but Gedale, we haven't seen each other in 2 years, and able to say Shechianu. And I see beloved friends, cherished brothers and sisters also haven't seen because of COVID. We were grounded, but now we're back down. Down but not out. We're back in the air now. And Baruch Hashem, Shechianu for everyone. Shechianu to Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, that we're in Staten Island tonight. Shechianu for Chazak, for Rabbi Eboff and everything they do. And want to thank everyone that had a hand, a finger, a little bit of desire in organizing tonight. Thank you very much. And Baruch Hashem, it's a big reward for everyone that came, all of us learning together, getting close to Hashem. And in Shamayim, we say, what is going on in Staten Island? All this emunah, all this joy, all this chazak. Tonight, we're going to speak about finding true happiness. If you haven't been happy up till now, okay, remember this date. Remember this date. This is before the 13th of Cheshvan. Okay, this is the last unhappy day of your life. Okay? This is the last. Now, from now, it all goes up. It all goes up. Are you ready? And I'm going to prove it to you. But to get us ready for it, we're going to take a little bit of a result and mix it with some Zohar and the famous 3-volume book called Gesher HaChaim by Rav Tuchachinsky. It's a classic book that says what goes on after death. People that don't have emunah, they say, you don't know what's going on in the afterlife. Oh, don't mess around with Hashem. In Israel, we just had elections. And there's this party, this left-wing party called Meretz. And they said before the elections, they told the people, there's no Hashem. So a voice came out in Shemayim. They've been in the government for 30 years. There's no Meretz. And they didn't make the threshold. They're out. Okay, don't mess with Hashem. Okay, there is Hashem, and Hashem is alive and well. Hashem did, does, and will do everything, and Hashem is not retired playing golf in Palm Springs. Okay, Hashem is right here with us, but we don't know. So what happens in the afterlife? Let's take a view of the afterlife as if we're seeing a movie in 2022. Okay, you go up to the heavenly court, and the heavenly court is like a movie theater, and it's your life. You've left after 120 years and 2 days. Why 120 years and 2 days? Because Hashem loves you. He don't want you to die on your birthday. Okay, so we don't bless the people 120 to 2 days. Okay, the day after, have a nice birthday party. All right, after 120 years and 2 days, you go up to the heavenly court. And you sit up here, and there's the heavenly tribunal up in the balcony. And in the audience, wow, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, all your loved ones, and the tzaddikim, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah, they're all there, and all the way down, the tzaddikim, our great-parents. and they show, they show on the screen behind you, the room becomes completely dark. You can't see the neshamas because you're a newcomer, a newbie upstairs, and you're not yet. You're just before your trial. Your trial is now at the start, and they turn you around. You're like in a straitjacket. You can't move, and the chair swivels, and you're forced to look at a movie of your life. That is very, very embarrassing. Now, here the good news is what's get edited out. The non-desirable things that a person did tshuva for. If someone did tshuva for, Hashem, we don't let that come in. They did tshuva for. But there are things that maybe we forgot to do tshuva. How does a person forget to do tshuva? We know if a person does, the body, there's bodily hygiene is taking a shower every day. There's spiritual hygiene, cleaning the neshama. One of the prerequisites of being happy is to have a clean neshama. Now, how do we clean our neshama every day? We give a spiritual shower every day. And what's a spiritual shower every day? We go to Hashem, and Hashem, I messed up on A, B, C, and D. Okay, but very simple. It's called the scar treatment. A transgression puts a scar on the soul. And just like you have scratched windows, if a window is clear, it's translucent. Divine light comes through it. Sunlight comes through it. The soul, when it's scarred, it loses divine light. When you do a scar treatment, the light comes in. What's a scar treatment? Very easy. S, let's stop the bad behavior. C, confess to Hashem. A, apologize. Hashem, I don't know what got into me. And R, resolve to do better. Now, we can't promise Hashem we're going to do better because He alone did that. We'll do everything. And Hashem is not going to fault us, but Hashem is going to ask us, why did you not ask for my help? Why did you ask for my help? That's Hashem to do better. Because this we do every day. And this right away, we speak to Hashem every single day, and we have a smile on our face because we have no, according to Kabbalah, there's no dinim, there's no stern judgments. We clean ourselves up every day, so we have a smile on our face. But a person that forgets about what he or she did wrong, this is outstanding. It's like a debt, an unpaid debt at the store, or a credit card debt. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these dinim, these debts, they manifest themselves in all kinds of troubles. And they bring us down, and we become unhappy. Hold it. We're back in the heavenly court. We're watching the movie. And the first movie, you get to see two movies. The first movie you see of your life. Ooh, is that embarrassing. It shows in the movie what you said behind closed doors, what you didn't think anybody heard, what you did behind closed doors, what you think no one could see. And think, well, maybe Hashem didn't see. Hashem can't see here. Heaven forbid Hashem. Everything is right there. And if you don't believe that every single detail is in that movie, do you believe in Google search? Do you believe that you can type in anything you want to find in the world and it's right there? Is Google search is more powerful than Hashem? Who gave us Google? Hashem gave us Google search. In fact, Moses, he knew all about that. But Moses preferred to learn Chavrusa with Hashem and 40 days and 40 nights, 3 different times, and not mess around with high tech. That's the technicality. No, spirituality is much higher. So you see that first movie. The first movie is painful enough. It's embarrassing. The second movie is even worse. The second movie, you know what the fire of purgatory is? People think that there's a big fiery furnace like the one that Nimrod threw Avram Avinu in this fiery furnace that's 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. No. Have you ever been really embarrassed and your face changes colors? What's it feel like, a fire in your face? It's on fire? That's what happens in the second movie. Now they show you the second movie. The second movie is what you could have done if you lived your life with happiness. They say, well, you live my life with happiness. They said, oh yeah, they showed the great people lived their life with happiness. And they were so productive and so positive and such achievers and so charismatic. And they did so much. Rabbi Nachman, look what he did in a 38-year-old life. The Arizal, look what he did in a 38-year-old life. They asked the whole Arizal. People say, he's taking Breslover shtick. Okay, no Breslover shtick. Let's talk to Arizal. The Arizal, the father of Kabbalah. Rebbe, how did you get your spiritual level? He says, because I did every mitzvah with joy. Every single mitzvah. This, not kavonas. I did. It's Hashem's name and a year and that. I did every mitzvah with joy. That's exactly what Gedale said. That Rizal put on his track shoes, and he did every single mitzvah, not in 10 flat, and 9.84. He won the Olympics with every infant. Every single one. This is the zlizut that does, but did do a little chazor on what Gedale said. I hope everybody learned it. Everybody absorbed it. Okay, this is the simcha. But you were sluggish, you didn't get anything done. And what you could have done. Now they show you what you could have done. Okay, now the trial starts. And you say, first thing, you get to say with yourself. You say, what Hashem? Hashem, what are you talking about? So I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel happy. You didn't let me. I didn't let you feel happy. I didn't let you. Was your life more difficult than Avraham Avinu? Do you know, beloved brothers and sisters, that every one of us is alive because of the joy of Avraham Avinu? What do you mean joy of Avraham Avinu? How would you feel if a voice came out and said, you take your firstborn that maybe you had IV, maybe you waited 12 years after the wedding, but Avraham Avinu waited a lot more than 12 years after the wedding before he got Yitzchak. And when he finally got him, Kachet bincha et yechida, the Torah talks at Isaac and his only son, and the one you love, and take him up in Har Moriah and shecht him. Wow. So how can you Avraham Avinu didn't enjoy? So what proof do you have that he didn't enjoy? A proof that we're all alive. Why? What proof is that we are all alive, that Avraham Avinu went to the Akedah in joy and went to do the most painful possible thing and went against the logic? What, Abraham, are you crazy? The whole world you've been talking against all your life, against rituals, against human sacrifice, and now you're going to do it to your own son? But Yiddishkeit and monotheism, it's finished before it's even started. Jimmy the Greek, the game's thrown, it's blown, that's it. You're off the court. The Yetzer gave him every single reason not to do it. Every single reason. No, Hashem told me. He put his intellect that Avraham Avinu had a prodigious intellect. He was a 3-year-old, and he observed the world better than anyone could do. No philosopher in this. He looked at the sun and came on a cloud. The cloud covered the sun. He said the clouds are strong on the sun. And then came a wind and blew the clouds away, and one power, another power, and then came back. He said, no, it's not that. There must be a supreme creator. And the supreme creator revealed himself to Abraham. So Abraham finally, in 10 tests, one test, we're talking about test number 10, this week's Parsha. So Avraham Avinu picks up that knife, and he's about to lay it on the jugular of Yitzchak and to slaughter him. And comes the divine voice, Malach Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, a divine voice that says, Avram, al tishlach yadcha lanav. Abraham, don't touch your son. Hold the time out on the field. Time out in the field. Call time out. I'm going to open up my Gemara. You know what my Gemara says? My Gemara says, Ein ashchina shoeh ela mokom simcha. The divine presence cannot be anywhere other than a place of joy. Which means, if Abraham didn't go to do that mitzvah, he couldn't have heard that divine voice. It wouldn't have been there. Makom Shechina, it just wouldn't have been there. Which means the fact that Yitzchak lived and Abraham heard the voice and was merited the voice, we are all here today. That's it. So say, wait a second, back in heavenly court. They say, how come you weren't happy? Look what you could have accomplished if you were happy. Look at the mental energy you would have saved, what you could have done, the physical energy you could save. What, because your ulcer, you didn't have a problem with digestive system. It was your unhappiness. And your cardiac problems, you didn't have a problem with that. Your pulmonary problems, it was all because of your unhappiness. Hashem said, I gave you a body. Hashem created a perfect body, but the body cannot stand unhappiness. Hashem didn't create the body. Who says it? Stress, anxiety? The body can't stand stress and anxiety. So wait a second. So everybody's got stress and anxiety. Why does everybody have stress and anxiety? And they've got curse in their life? Got to answer right in the Torah. Open up twice in the Torah. Hashem wrote it once in the end of Bechukotay, once in the Kisaf, Tachat Asher lo avat Hashem l'kel b'ken simcha, where it's a whole long list of curses, which includes the Holocaust, which includes the first destruction of the first temple, destruction of the second temple, Inquisition, the pogroms, all the troubles. Why? Not because the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells 3 worst transgressions in the Torah: idolatry and illicit sex and illicit bloodshed. Not because of that, because we didn't serve Hashem with joy. What is going on here? And he said to the heavenly court, I didn't feel joy. How to serve Hashem? I didn't feel joy. So I said, show Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu had a little bit tougher life than you did. And how about David HaMelech? David HaMelech got kicked out of the house at 3 years old. His father thought he was an illegitimate child. Not going into the whole story, but you can see it's a Farish Midrash. David HaMelech, his father-in-law traced him to kill him. 2 sons, not 1 son, 2 sons revolted against him. His wife gave it. You talk about Shalom Bayis problems. You weren't married to Michal. His father-in-law, did anybody have a father-in-law try to kill him? David HaMelech had all that. Well, David HaMelech, he smiles at Hashem. He says, Hashem, kol mitzvosecha emunah. Huh. And what's this emunah that he's talking about? In Hallel, we say it every year. This says, Hemanti ki adaber. My emunah, how do I show? What's a Brahman emunah? He speaks to Hashem. He spoke to Hashem every day. He did tshuva every day. David HaMelech, you know what a warrior he was? If David HaMelech was in the Olympics, he'd be gold medal javelin, gold medal sprinter. The Midrash tells us that he would throw a spear in his heyday. He was about 30, 35, and it would skewer 60 Moabite soldiers. And when he was 60 years old, he was hand-to-hand against 10 Philistines. Hand-to-hand. Imagine if anybody knows anything about Krav Maga, it's tough enough against 1. 2, 3, that's 10. 10 Philistines, all size of Goliath. And they weren't prevailing, and he wasn't prevailing. And comes Yoav, says, his general, Your Majesty, you're slowing down. I'm taking you out of combat. He retired from combat at age 60 because he was slowed down. He could not defeat 10 Philistine soldiers. That for King David is retirement. King David had a rough life, but King David was always happy. One thing scared him. The 10 Philistines didn't scare him. If we open up Psalm 51, he says, Hashem, al tashlicheni milfonecha. Hashem, whatever you do, don't throw away. Don't. Why? Because Shiviti Hashem legdi tamid. I see Hashem before me always. My happiness is with Hashem. He had to be happy all the time because he knew that was a prerequisite of having Hashem with him. Okay, so now you still want to argue with me. Okay, Lazer, give me an example of Avram Avinu. I'm Avram Avinu. You give me an example of David HaMelech. David HaMelech. Okay, I'm going to call now the greatest psychotherapist that ever lived. His name is Rabbeinu Nachman ben Fegi, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Okay. And Rabbi Nachman tells us a story in one of his 13 tales about the clever and the simple. You think you got a rough life? You think you got problems? Gedale spoke about what we call the if-only syndrome. If only Mikey marries me. If only I pass the bar exam. If only I pass the CPA exam. If only I start a startup company comes. And that's not if only, it's right now. Because the if only is always going to be another if only. There's no if only. If only I had this. Rabbi Nachman juxtaposes 2 characters. They grew up together, the same background, the same house, but the clever one, he had a 140 IQ. He was athletic. He was good looking. He was, have the kids who play choose up football, choose up. So he was the first guy that got chose up. All right, he had coordinated, great athlete, charismatic, everything. And then there was a simple one. The simple one, he had a 79 IQ. And he had like 2 left hands. And he was the last one that got chosen up on team in the pickup baseball. He was the last one. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't understand what he's talking about. So the clever one, he goes and does 3 advanced degrees, and he tries one profession. He says, I could do something better and do something better, but he's never happy with what he's doing. He's always doing something better, and he's traveling around the world, and he's looking at his destiny around the world. The simple one apprenticed himself by a cobbler, a shoemaker. And he makes shoes. And he sings all day long. And he puts knock nailed in the shoes. And he finishes the day's work. And the shoe, it's too narrow in the point. If you put that shoe on, it's going to squeeze your toes. And it's so wide in the back that it's going to fall off. It's like what they call flip-flops in Israel. They flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. What do you call it? And where another cobbler would get 5 pieces of silver for a pair of shoes, he would get $150. That's it, third of the price. And people say, well, what, aren't you jealous? And he'd say, Ze maaseh shelo, ze maaseh sheli. This is this guy's work, and this is that guy's work. And what would he do when he finished making a shoe? He took his shoe and he says, oh, beloved shoe, you are so exquisite. I would kiss the leather. He put in my word, he put in my heart into this. And he said, I hope the person that walks in this shoe, he should be blessed. And this is the way he served Hashem. He would come home and his wife would say, husband, what do you want for dinner? He says, let me have a piece of this Chateaubriand. Okay, Chateaubriand. Oh, Chateaubriand. With what? With mushroom sauce. Chateaubriand mushrooms. She'd cut off a little piece of dry black bread. That's all they had. And he said, she said, what would you like to drink? He says, I had the Merlot last night. How about the Cabernet Sauvignon Galil? 10-year-old. Okay. She brings it that. But, it's a little carafe of water. Water and black bread, that's all he had. He drank what he had, what Hashem gave him. He ate it with the pleasure that he was eating Chateaubriand in the best French restaurant. He drank that wine as he was drinking a $1,000 bottle of wine. This is the way he did. We went to go, they only had one coat between them. It's called the pelts. They take a coat. They had nothing. But just as the clever one was clever, and he depended on his intellect, the simple one, he had Hashem, do. He had Hashem. You know the song, you just call my name, and you know wherever I come, I'll come running. Are you too young to know that? Okay. James Taylor and Carly Simon. Okay, you're too young. You're too young too. Okay. The simple one, he had Hashem. And he knew one thing. He knew the first principle of emunah. That people that don't have smiles on their face don't know it. I walk into people and see people that are from. They're from. And you walk into a shul, they look at you like this, up and down. Who are you? How long is your beard? How long is your coat? And they're from. Try an experiment. Say from. And smile while you're saying from. Can't do it. From. It don't work. The ball game is what the Torah says, Tachat Hashem, that you gotta serve Hashem b'simcha. And this is what David HaMelech says, he turns it from a negative to a positive. Ibdu et Hashem b'simcha. Ibdu et Hashem b'simcha. Serving with simcha, whatever we do is b'simcha. Why do we do with simcha? Why do we do it? How can we do a simcha? And this is what the Heavenly Court answers us on the second movie. It says, because what you got, and this again, Gedale, we're strongly connected. Gedale said this. I don't know if you heard Gedale said, I'm going to repeat it. Get a Chazor Shur Gedale. Nobody could do what you could do. Gedale said, few people have the same soul correction. I'll say, no two people have the same soul correction. And you know what that means? Why are you not smiling? Let me ask you a question. Okay, Baruch Hashem, I got a white beard. I'm in good shape. Still, body and soul. Gedale is in very good shape too. See us when we dance together. If I ask, we're going to make Simon Says, and take off my coat, when Simon Says, I need a volunteer. Make it feel kind of dumb. Come up here and lift your hand and lower your hand, lift your hand, lower your hand, lift your leg, lower your leg. Nobody, you feel embarrassed in front of the whole group. Okay, say very quietly, maybe you have a little financial difficulty. And say, how about 2 Benjamin Franklins in your pocket? Would that convince you to come up for 60 minutes? That's a nice Shabbos table, 2 Ben Franklins. Okay, come on. We know that we wouldn't do something without a reason. Why do we think that Hashem would do something without a reason? Hashem's less intelligent than we are? Everything that Hashem does is for a reason. David HaMelech, he couldn't understand why Hashem created black widow spiders. He understood everything. David HaMelech, he grew a big Perek Shira. He understood all of creation. One thing, he had a showstopper, black widow spiders. I don't know what was black widow spiders. Hashem says, okay, David, you got questions? You got a question emunah? This was the only question emunah I ever know that I know that David HaMelech ever had. Hashem, why did you create black widow spiders? King Saul and his lieutenants almost caught David. And King Saul went delirious with jealousy, and he wanted to kill him, kill his son-in-law. And if you ever visited the Judean desert, these high cliffs are very dangerous. There's a cul-de-sac. And they had King David cornered in a cul-de-sac. There was nowhere to go. And he could hear the horse's hoofs. They're getting there. If he would have had a psycho, he'd looked at it. Now, 60 seconds expected lifespan. That's it. But all of a sudden, he saw an elk put in a cave. Nowhere to go. He jumped in the cave. Hashem sent a black widow spider that in less than a minute, she wove a web that would take a spider 2 years to do. And the soldiers very quickly, they came there, King Saul, and they saw the cave. And they saw this big, nasty black widow. You don't touch a web of a black widow spider, because that's it. Very, very, very deadly. Very lethal. And they said, well, he disappeared. Can't be in here. He didn't come in here. So they left. And as they left, the black widow spider took her web and her travel suitcase, wrapped it all up. And King David heard a voice. Any more questions, my son? Any more questions, emunah? This is what we all hear. If we had enough spiritual awareness, we'd hear this. Any more questions? Hashem, why this? Hashem, how come I'm not married? Hashem, how come I have this physical problem? Hashem, how come this? How come this? Hashem, you give me a soulmate, I'll start serving you. Hashem, you give me good health, I'll start serving you. Hashem, you take away this terrible boss, give me a better job, I'll start serving you. No. Hashem wants us to serve right now with joy in the middle of our Akedah. And this again what Gedale said. Go one point. Again what Gedale said.
We didn't talk before.
No, we did that. We just saw it 10 minutes before we saw each other first time in 2 years. Okay. It's the challenge. It's not whether you win or lose. The outcome doesn't belong. It's how we withstand the challenge. We do it b'simcha, no matter what's the simple. The outcome doesn't belong to us. Ki Hashem alone. This does and will do. The people say, so what is the barometer of emunah? Oh, talk a really good game. I think really good game. People come up to me and they say, Lazer, it's easy for you to talk about emunah. You've got such a great life. You've had such a thing. You're popular. You go around the world. I too had, right now, 60 minutes under Dr. Gudeman. What a fantastic chiropractor. And I warned him before he touched me. He said I had a lot of stuff that needed to loosen up. I said, don't be alarmed, but there's a lot of old injuries there in the body. What'd you find there? So a list of, okay, you see as I'm looking at you, my nose is in Staten Island. I'm looking at Staten Island. My nose is looking at Chicago. It's not there. Okay. And there's ribs, there's collarbones, that's enough. How about when I came into the world, I had the worst health problems in the world. My mother was a Holocaust survivor, so she thought I was going to starve, and I was force-fed like a goose. A little kid that was fat. I was asthmatic. I had all kinds of stuff. Now, as older, I did 2 difficult workouts 6 years ago, threw my heart into AFib. Don't stop. We serve Hashem with simcha. Wherever I went, Lazer said I went Eshet Torah. In my rabbinical class, graduating class, there were guys from Harvard, there were guys from Yale, there were guys from CPA, and I was at Cal College, University of Maryland. I learned how to plant trees and raise cows and chickens. And that was two things I did. I had a dream. 2 dreams to do in Eretz Yisrael. To become a soldier and become a farmer. Okay, I did both. And soldier, my unit, I went into my unit and they looked at me in the first day and they said, what are you doing here? I said, I want to be in this unit. I said, what? They looked at my wife. Like, you ever looked at yourself in a mirror? I said, okay, Sarge, try me. You know who I was messing with? I was never a place where everyone was not smarter, everyone was more intelligent than me. But one thing, I had the desire. If I'm with me, could do it. Had the desire, could do it. Eshet Torah. Today, I went back to see Reb Berkowitz. Reb Berkowitz, my beloved, I have 2 beloved Rebbes, the Melitzer Rebbe and Reb Berkowitz, the head of Eshet Torah. He was my Rav Mufhak at Eish. And he told me a story. He told it to other people. He said this on film, but he told it to me the first time a year ago. He said, Lazer, do you know when you came and applied for a rabbinical program, do you know that the committee didn't want to accept you? I said, what? They said, nothing's ever going to come out of this guy. This guy's a turkey. They said some moshavnik, he raised turkeys and fruit trees, and nothing's ever come to him. And so Reb Berkowitz says, he says, I don't agree with you guys. Somebody said what Berkowitz said about me. I'm embarrassed to say, I'm not going to say it here. But Reb Berkowitz himself overrided the whole acceptance committee and came in. And I don't want to say what my old classmates are doing and what I'm doing. Baruch Hashem, thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. This is, and when Rav Shalom wrote the clever and the simple one, he told me when he wrote the Garden of Wisdom, this is my favorite book. When Rav Shalom wrote that, he said, Lazer, I just wrote your biography. It doesn't matter. This is Avraham Avinu. This is David HaMelech. It doesn't matter what your setbacks are. It matters what you do with it. And how do you do with it? There's one thing. Teach you one thing tonight, and it's the secret to finding true happiness, and go with it whatever you do. You should know that Hashem created you perfect. And back to the thing what the Simon says. The fact that Hashem created you means that the world cannot exist without you. Because to say that the world can exist without you means that Hashem does things for no reason. And if Hashem creates a black widow spider for a reason, he served one of his beloved Jewish children for a reason, how many of us are there in the world? How many of the non-us are in the world? 1 to how many thousands? We're 1 in how many thousands? Every one of us. Chelek elok mima'al, says the Zohar. A tiny part of Hashem. And we say, what, Lazer sounds like hippie? I did like a breast of a hippie, you know, my brothers and sisters. If I got Hashem's DNA, and the Torah says, Boni matem l'Hashem Elokecha, and you have Hashem's DNA, and the Torah calls us brothers and sisters, come on, I rest my case. You don't need a PhD in genealogy to know that every Jew is a brother and a sister. And now you know why we have to love each other. And why Hashem is so upset when we're not one together, one body. Doesn't matter what the person looks like, what he dresses like. And it doesn't matter whether he eats chaim on Shabbos, gefilte fish on Shabbos. Okay, 1. Remember that you are unique. And what did Gedale said? We're doing a whole chazar on Gedale thing. Don't look at anybody else. Because if you look at anybody else, I'm just elaborating on it. And the reason it's true is because I could go through his shur and just do chidushim on it. Rewrite it and do chidushim on it. The Torah says, or Chazal say, the true Torah has the power of reproduction, pre-revia. Okay, so not only are you the only one with your correction, and Dai said, don't look at other people. Lazer will add to that. If you look at somebody else, you're a double loser. Because you can't be the somebody else. Hashem gave them their own unique neshama with their own advantages and seemingly disadvantages. There are no seemingly disadvantages. Is it a disadvantage for a plumber that he doesn't have a saw and nails in his toolbox? He doesn't need a saw and nails. Is it a disadvantage for a carpenter that he doesn't have a monkey wrench in his toolbox? He doesn't need a monkey wrench. and what the electrician has in toolbox, the tools that neither the plumber nor the carpenter has. This is what you think is a disadvantage that you're 5'8". Hashem didn't want you to play for the NBA. That's all. Okay. So Hashem took these unnecessary choices. Don't break your head. Okay, but fine. That's not a disadvantage to anything else. And a disadvantage, don't look at another woman, she's better than you, she's pretty. No, you're perfect. You're perfect. And you only need one soulmate. And you and the soulmate, you say, I'm blemished. It's like the one board has a knot in it, and the other board has it's the opposite. The male and female, the knot, put them together, and they fit perfectly. Each one, they look like they're blemished, but they fit perfectly. You have the exact tools you need to do your job in life. How come you haven't found your job in life? Thank you. Everybody say amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nהיה bדברו.
Amen.
May Hashem bless the hands that brought that glass of water.
Amen.
Hashem gives you exact tools that you need to do your job in life, which means you are perfect for doing your job in life. Oh, boy, would I be miserable if I want to be a Gedale Fenster. Look at it here. Lazer, you got every barber. Okay, so wait a second. Let's start. Okay, I'm going to be Gedale Fenster. I'm going to a plastic surgeon. Doctor, straighten the nose. Okay, straighten the nose. Wait a second. Gedale, let me ask you a question. Does it hurt to be so good looking? Okay, try to be him. I can't. But Lazer, okay, Lazer, this is the common do thing. Be happy with what we're doing, happy with Hashem. How can I be happy with what I have? This is the barometer of emunah. Sameach bechelko. This is what Chazal, all Pirkei Avot, they tell us, Sameach bechelkecha. Be happy with your lot in life. Why be happy with your lot in life? Because Hashem gives us the exact soulmate we need for our soul correction, the exact job we need for our soul correction, the exact neighbor we need for our soul correction, the exact abusive boss we need for our soul correction. And that is how the simple one smiles. And then the king happens to be going through the kingdom. And the king is really upset. He knows his ministers, they're stealing from him blind. And he knows they're unreliable. And somebody tells him, there's this village, and there's a shoemaker who's truly happy, and he's smiling all the time. King says, impossible. Impossible. Yeah, your majesty, there is someone like that. Okay? And he signs his name, the simple one. King says, there's no such thing as a simple person on you. What are we davening for? There's not a single day in Lazer Brody's Hitbodu, personal prayer, don't ask for simple emunah. Do you know the color that Kabbalah depicts divine light? It's white. Nothing is simpler than white. Okay? King David says in Psalms, Uli yishrei lev simcha. He says, those that have straight of heart, there's nothing simpler in geometry than a straight line. Color white straight line. Everything that is simplest, the tachlis of simplicity. Hashem is not complicated. Hashem is so simple. Ani Hashem Elokecha asher hotzita me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeis avadim. I'm the Lord your God. I took you out of Egypt. And the Rambam tells us he did, does, and will do everything. That's all Hashem. And the Torah sums it up in 3 words. Ein od milvado. Ein od milvado. Mala kol haaretz kevodo. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Melech v'ani avdo. There's nobody but Hashem. Nobody but Hashem. When you know, wait a second. My tribulations in life, they come from Hashem. My tribulations are all the best. Believe me, neither in athletics nor in the military, it ain't easy. Ringo Starr made a song about, you don't come easy, you know it don't come. That's what life is. It doesn't come easy. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. And you won't see someone who is seemingly more cruel than an athletic coach or military commander, But the athletic coach wants to be a winner, and the military commander wants you to come home alive, victorious. And Hashem wants us to finish our 120 years on earth with a smile on our face. And there's only one way to do it. We sing on, we dance with the Torah, on Simchat Torah, and we say, Ashrei ish shelo yishkacheka, o ben adam yit amitzbach. Happy is the person that never forgets you, and the person who strains for you. What's strain? Okay, with all the static and all the yetzer, hey, it's not so easy. Nobody said it's easy. You can't have a Super Bowl with one team on the field. You can't have NBA Finals. The whole action is the opposite team. The whole action in the Torah is where Jacob wrestles the angel. Who's the angel? Esau's angel. Who's Esau's angel? That's the Samach Mem. That's the Yetzer Hara. That was some fight all night long. And it was a dead tie until Yaakov Avinu put him in an arm lock, and that's it, and wouldn't let him go. He said, I got to get out of here. It's an angel. It said, someone, no, you're not getting out of here until I get a bracha. And he got a bracha. Every one of us is fighting that angel. And in order to fight that angel, you've got to have a smile on our face. Because a smile, in Hebrew, the word for besimcha, that's machshava. You play Hebrew Scrabble, which means that the thought process depends on our simcha. In other words, you see, there's one thing, I'll tell you a little secret from Krav Maga. In Krav Maga, it's not the powerful one that wins. It's the guy that assesses. The guy uses his brain, requires brain. Use present, just say, look for the weak point, look here, observe, and then boom, 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 boom. I got to finish this off in 2 seconds because I can't do something prolonged. It's very quick, but a lot, it's very sikhli, it's very, very mind, it's a mind strain. And this is what we have to do. But we can't do on our own. Whatever we're doing, you know when we don't succeed? When we don't ask Hashem for help, when we forget the Shiviti, when we forget Hashem, we forget that everything is from Hashem, when we forget that He alone did, does, and will do. And you know where that forgetfulness comes from? That amnesia comes from the evil inclination. And so everything we do, I'm going to give you a little secret how to be happy and how to be successful. Before you do a business deal, before you put a cake in the oven, before you put a challah in the oven, before you do whatever you do, before you cross the street, Hashem, help this deal be successful. Hashem, help this cake be successful. Hashem, help me do whatever. Oh, Hashem says, you're asking my help? Beloved son, beloved daughter, you got it. There's no such thing as you ask Hashem for help. You don't get it. But people think people are egoistic. No, then I can't say it's me, me. I want to be the big man on the campus. I want to be the guy that does. No, you need Hashem. Well, they have to know. This is just like the simpleton. To make the story, Rabbi Nachman could teach how the king was so impressed with the simple one, he threw out his advisors. He started out as a governor. He had a crooked governor. And he started governor. It was so simple management of the government. Ask Hashem for help. And he made it to a vice minister, minister, and he was the king's right-hand man. And who's the king? The king, this is the whole parable. The king is Hashem. It means what Rabbi Nachman told us. Don't think Rabbi Nachman says that I got so tall and so great because I'm a great-grandson of Baal Shem Tov. Anybody that does what I did, Gedale said that too. Like, you want to be Gedale Fenster? It's got to start at 3:30 in the morning. Lazer's not 3:30 in the morning, but you don't get to the mikveh and to shul in the morning until you move your body a little bit. Okay, not many people want to do that. Instead of morning coffee, you got to move your body. There's a whole set of, okay, so that my body is ready to talk to Hashem. And people ask, how come you jump and you dance and you daven like this all the time? In Yiddish, they call it kochadim. Kochadim. Because it's on fire. This is in, like, the one time I let it go during the week, the military says go. It says, Nishmas, let all the horses out of the stable. We get to Nishmas on Shabbat in the morning, Kol Atzmoisai Tamalna, and Lazer sounds like he whispers when you hear me in Nishmas. Okay, that's when we let it all go. But it's real, it's real, it's real, it's real. You feel Hashem, feel Hashem. Hashem, be with me. Hashem, be with me. The moment you say, Hashem, be with me, there's not such, can you imagine your little baby daughter, your little baby son say, Mommy, Daddy, be with me? And you're not going, no, I'm not going to do that. Of course you're going to do it. But the moment that you ask Hashem to be with you, Hashem's got a law. He can't be with you unless you're happy. So Hashem will give you happiness in order that he'll be with you. It works the opposite. If you ask him, you invoke Hashem in your life, and maybe I'm not feeling Hashem, I go, and I set aside my time and I talk to Hashem. Hashem, I'm not feeling my best. Hashem, I'm concerned. Hashem, I don't feel my bitachon. Hashem, I know what's going to be. Hashem, I need your help. Oh, my beloved son, you need my help? Okay, now you get simcha so that Hashem can come and be with you and give you help. Divine law, that's it. That is the key to real happiness. It is so simple, like the simple one. And this is a straight line. This is the color white. And this, who else said it? Sign check from King Solomon. Elokim barat adam yashar vehemo bikshu cheshbonos rabim. Hashem created the person straight, the straight line, simple. But they confuse things. It would be intellect. No, I can't say that I'm a 79, 80, 90 IQ. It could be a 140 IQ. Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem, that I'm not a 140 IQ. Baruch Hashem. This is the key to happiness. Spend time with Hashem every day. Be with Hashem every moment. Everything you do, and you're with Hashem. This is dveikus. This is dveikus. You can be right away at the level of tzaddik. Hashem, be with me. Hashem, be with me. As soon as it says, Hashem, be with me, this is a request that Hashem does not refuse, and it doesn't matter who you are, and it doesn't matter how, you didn't do tshuva yet, nothing. Hashem, be with me. Oh, you're Hashem's son, you're Hashem's daughter. Suppose you're your son or your daughter, they ran away from home, they did stuff, and they'll come back. Mommy, Daddy, take me back, be with me. It's right there, come on, sweetheart. Right back, what parent wouldn't do it? That is the secret of true happiness. Invite Hashem in your life, and that is real emunah. Not the frum cut, not the long black coat, not the this, and not the stringencies. With Hashem, that's emunah, where I live my life with Hashem from morning to night. I wake up with Hashem. I go to bed with Hashem. I start modani. I thank Hashem for every single heartbeat. Don't take it for granted. And anybody that's been in situations in life, whether in war situations or whether in, heaven forbid, car accidents, heaven forbid, injuries, and don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted, because the best cardiac insurance is to thank Hashem for our hearts. The best pulmonary insurance to thank Hashem for the air we breathe. Thank Hashem, and not wait. We have to beg Hashem. Hashem, save my heart. No, right now. Thank Hashem for eyes. Thank Hashem for everything. We live our Hashem. We live our lives with Hashem. We thank Him all day long. We talk to Him all day long. And if we can, we set aside time to be with Him. And we make Hashem part of our lives. That is living emunah. Living emunah equals living happiness equals true happiness. And you should be happy, and it's going to help you be healthy, and it's going to maximize your life potential to 120 years and 2 days. Amen. Amen.
Okay, we're going to start. For anybody else who wants to stay for the Q&A, we're going to begin that right now. If you have to go, we'll be with the kids. We understand. Thank you very much for coming out. A special thank you to Rabbi Leierfeld of the Young Israel of Staten Island and the entire board. Thank you for hosting this wonderful event at Young Israel of Staten Island. Okay, and so by beginning the Q&A, if anybody has a direct question that they'd like to ask to Gedale or Rabbi Brody, you can specify which one, or if it's general, I'll allow either one to come up and answer for it. Once again, thank you very much for coming out. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock p.m. will be the continuation of this momentous event with Rabbi Shalom Arush, who will be here. along with Rabbi Diane Elgrad, so that's going to be fantastically phenomenal. We'll continue that tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll give everybody just a minute if they want to come closer for the seats that are open to have the Q&A, and anybody else who wants to leave. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Yes. Mara will be after the Q&A session, and then after that, for those who are still here, we'll be able to have a little one-on-one time and get some signatures and inscriptions in any of the books that they have. Okay, we're going to start the Q&A now because it's getting a little later, and then we'll see how it goes. If people have questions, raise your hand. We'll either come over to you or ask you to go with the mic. Okay. All right, is anybody going to be brave enough and raise their hand for the first question for the Q&A session? Okay. That guy right there. Okay. Yeah. We're going to hear from Ellie Nyman. Go ahead. Is it directed to anyone? Okay.
So this question is for both Gedale and Rabbi Brody. So one of the things I was thinking about is that you both spoke about happiness, which is of course a very common theme in Rabbi Nachman. And Rabbi Nachman talks about one of the ways to achieve joy is through giving tzedakah, is through finding the good points. But one of the things I think that might be a challenge is happiness is, I think, in two parts. One of it is emotion, but the other part is cognition. Sometimes our cognition, I think we both sort of hinted to it, our cognition can be a little bit off, like when we feel down, so we really think that everyone has a better life. How do we fix our cognition, not just our emotion, to try to connect to Hashem, that our cognition is off when we're depressed? How can we fix that?
I think you answered your question. There's your question. When you change your focus, change emotion, you change your emotion. By changing motion, you change your emotion. Sometimes you can feel brokenhearted, we can feel off. We change and move around, and that triggers the emotion. So motion changes emotion.
I have a question.
Thanks,
Rabbi Brody. So what was the first video I missed? You said the second video is what you could have become.
The first video is what you actually did. What you actually did. And the second video is what you could have done if you'd have been happy.
Any more questions? Yeah. This guy's on 24-hour rental, this guy. I gotta take you to Miami with me.
I'm coming.
And he's working all day long, too.
How do you describe a gut feeling versus actual fear?
Gut feeling versus fear.
What?
It's a good question.
Oh, for shidduchim.
For shidduchim.
You want to know. How do you know it's right, or you're just afraid of it?
I mean, in my personal experience, you have to make it right. It's not, you get the potential, but in order to make potential to actual, I mean, you can have the best soulmate and have the worst marriage, or you can have the worst person and have the best marriage. So, as far as is something good for you or not, I would start how do you know? By surrendering. If it's like a fear, try to surrender it and see if it still comes up. And if it doesn't come up, then it could be something, there's a gut feeling that it's not meant to be.
Add one word to Gedalia's superb answer. Rabbi Nachman talks about yirot nefula, misplaced fears. Okay? And when I have a fear that's irrational, it means that my fear of Hashem is insufficient. So the way to neutralize a fear of shidduchim is you go into the shidduch, just what we talk about, ask for Hashem's help. Hashem, illuminate my eyes if this is the right one. Hashem, help me if it's the right one, make it happen. And if not, okay. But Hashem, it's not my job to be afraid. It's your job. It's my job to fear you. That's my job. To be afraid of other things, that's it. It's not your job. You be afraid, okay? So Hashem, you be afraid not to give me the wrong, Hashem won't give you the wrong one. So as soon as you invoke Hashem, you're not afraid anymore.
But you still have to run the marathon. You understand? Like you saw everybody running the marathon, whether they're afraid or not, you still have to run a marathon though. it is a marathon. It's not a race.
Definitely.
So, sometimes we're afraid of the short, but it is a marathon.
Definitely.
If I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Arush last night said that the best way to receive is to first thank God for lacking it since the time hasn't come. If we're saying any prayer, including Tikkun HaKlali, should I first thank God that I don't have whatever it is that I'm lacking since the time hasn't come yet?
Well, Tikkun HaKlali is more of a cleansing. There's always a cleansing before the blessing. That's a whole different story. That's to get rid of extra entities that can confuse you. But in general, the fact that you have a lack, God gives you a lack in order so you should come closer to God through that lack. And by appreciating the lack, that is emunah, in not becoming a victim, but appreciating that lack was there for a reason, and that lack serves a purpose, so I can come closer to God through that lack. Therefore, I should thank God for that lack. That's emunah.
And to add to that, what Rav Shalom intends, people say, well, how can I thank something for something painful? I'm faking it. I'm going to lie to Hashem. He knows if I'm lying or not. No, that's not it. You don't think, Hashem, thank you for the broken arm. Thank you for the bankrupt. Thank you that I lost $100,000. No, that's not it. That Hashem, if I have this pain, I know it's from you. And you're my beloved Father. And you're doing everything for the best. So if you're doing for the best for me, I'm going to thank you for it. And Hashem says, you're going to thank me for that? Now wait and see the reasons you get to thank me.
Just like somebody apologizing. I'm sorry. No, that's not really apologizing. You're just saying it to say it. Because I told you I'm hurt. But when you really apologize, you apologize differently. So you can apologize and not really mean it. So we've all been, people have apologized, but they haven't meant the apology. And you don't take it if it's not meant.
You speak of emotion, changing emotion.
Correct.
But how do you change that emotion? How has a less energetic person change their
Become more
nature to,
Right.
How do you attain that?
So less energetic, that's a story we've been saying. You understand? What does that mean? It's less energetic because we're putting less effort in energetic. So you have to work harder at making it happen. So you should never say, I have less energy. I just have to work harder. You understand? Because already if you say, I have less energy, it's assuming already you're coming in there like, oh, I have a problem, and maybe it's a chemical thing. No, you have to move. Move, create motion. Believe me, it's not easy for me. I'm extremely emotional, and I have tremendous challenges. But I know every single time, once I get going, the beginning is always tough. But once you get going, it flows. But you should say I'm a highly energetic person, not a less energetic person.
Secular coaches and trainers say that they don't want non-energetic people. They don't want energetic athletic because they can train tigers, but they can't put fire in pussycats. And when coaches say no, say to a person who apparently said doesn't have energy, ask that person, what do you like? What's your favorite thing? He says, chocolate ice cream or Baskin Robbins or whatever. And what about if you run to that corner, I'll give you a gift certificate for Baskin Robbins for 53 flavors. Okay? He's going to run to the corner. All right? And just say, you take every mitzvah in Torah, that's Baskin Robbins. That's change his outlook. Change his outlook, and you can get to love. And get to love. And the way to get to love to do is to teach emunah. Because emunah is the one on the left side of the check. You take tefillin, that's great. Shabbos is great. Mikvah is great. Kashrus is great. But like 0 is 0. If there's no emunah, then a person won't be able to weather a difficult time. And that's where we have, what's the number one problem in Judaism today is off the derech kids. Okay, that's it. And I guarantee you, and I was from going around the world, whether it's in London or Williamsburg, and spoken in Hasidic yeshivas, lift yeshivas, where boys have been learning Torah all their lives, and they look dead. Because nobody ever taught them emunah. And don't blame them, because their rebbes never learned emunah.
Very sad.
Let's go to that side of the room and we'll come back.
Yes.
Can you be loud?
I'll try to be loud, yeah. Gedale, you spoke about the desires could be our downfalls in the context of social comparison.
Sure.
But at the same time, in some of your lessons, you're empowered to have desires, right? So how do you rectify having the right desires?
Right. Spiritual desires, you have to be 100% aggressive. Financial desires is going to come to you at the right time. You have to have a desire. So financially, if you want a desire, for example, I could say, Creator of the world, if I don't have emunah, I'm dead. And you'll actually get emunah because you're demanding it on a spiritual sense. It's a need in heaven. But if you're trying to chase something financially, physically, because of low self-esteem, and you're doing it through sadness, that is not necessarily going to trigger that. Because what happens is if that person himself cannot, even if he receives that money, it's going to lead him to worse and worse things. So the good question is what do you become after you receive the money? Do you become chasing double, or is this going to change you? Do you understand? That's how you know. If you receive, will you be a giver, or will you be just, the more you have, the more you want. So that's necessarily not going to solve the problem. So anything where you're relating to kavod, honor, or validation, you don't want to go after it because it's ego-based. And the more you go after it, people see it's desperate, or fear of not being loved, and then people will usually run the other side, or runs away from you. A guy that wants to go out with a girl, over and over a girl, he just keeps on being like Lazer, except spiritually. Come on, you have to go with that. That girl will never go out with him because she'll feel, wow, this guy is, my whole life, he's a creep. And she's not going to date him. Because the girl's going to say, this guy, it's too desperate, something's wrong. So the same concept. So financially, you want to have bitachon and stand back, work hard, but surrender the outcome. But spiritually, you do have to turn it up. I hope that answers.
Yeah, surrender the outcome.
Surrender the outcome, believe it or not.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much
How are
for
you?
coming.
Anytime.
And guys, try to be a little more direct with the questions to the point.
I'm going
instead of the whole story.
to try to be as loud as possible. Sorry if you guys can hear me. I'd like to apply your wisdom into practicality, into today's world. We have, unfortunately, we have drug addicts. So how can a drug addict really have emunah, bitachon, simcha, when he's clearly trying to stay sober? Another question is, how can his drug dealer, who's caused so much pain and suffering to people, directly, indirectly, how can he really come back to Hashem and have simcha at the end of the day? Could you say that is borderline delusional?
For the drug dealer or for the...
For trying to be happy when you know that you caused...
But there's two questions here.
It's two questions.
Which one do you want to deal with, the dealer or the addict?
Gedale, answer the first one,
Okay, let me answer the first.
and I'll answer the second one. About you answer.
You answer the drug dealer.
I'll answer the dealer. You answer the addict.
Not from experience.
Exactly. Don't hate the players, hate the game, right? The bottom line, any attempt to use drugs or anything is an attempt for higher consciousness. Okay, for example, let's say I'm depressed, and next thing you know, I have social anxiety. I take 2 drinks, 3 drinks, I'm the life of the party, my anxiety goes away, the real me comes out, I'm talking to everybody, the buzz goes off, I'm the same miserable person. Okay? So what happens? All that did is it blocks the ego. All alcohol, drugs do is it blocks what's making you feel horrible. You understand? But technically, what you really got a taste of is that's where you should really be. So what you need to do is the person in recovery has to work on letting go of all those things that are making him feel the way he's feeling, and he can get to that same high without anything. That's the purpose of the 12 steps, is to get to the same level of consciousness, but now through work and letting go and therapy versus that person. You understand? Is that the question? So that person usually the purpose of a spiritual awakening comes when you first have to surrender. You can't fight. You have to first surrender, and that allows, because remember, drugs is very controlling. You want to control how you feel. So when you surrender, that allows the truth, and that starts the process. That starts the process of an awakening in consciousness. So I've had many people, all my employees are in recovery, and they're much nicer and much kinder people and better people that they would have never gone to recovery. So the purpose of all this darkness is you come higher. When you come back, you come much higher than you would have ever had if you didn't use. You want to?
Now, as far as
understand
the
that or
dealer,
no? Do you understand the concept?
Yes,
Okay.
the Gemara talks about the dealer. If we open up Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 17b, he wasn't a dealer, but he was a guy, he was a dealer, used his services. This guy was called I'd say nice word, panderer. I can't tell the Gemara because it's so graphic, we can't talk about here. But this particular panderer, he was, Hugh Hefner in Playboy was Mother Teresa compared to this guy. Okay, this guy did everything and the worst low-life stuff, and he finally went to this world-famous, most expensive hooker alive, and she said to him at a embarrassing moment, she said to him, I don't know how she had got in her mouth. She says, Hashem is never going to accept you in Shuvah. So he fell off her gold-laden bed, and he heard that, and it just pierced like an arrow in his heart. And he went out, you know, the song, the old American folk song, "Oh, sinner man, where are you going to run to? Oh, sinner man," it's from this Gemara. It's from this Gemara. So the sinner man, he goes out, he says, son, help me. Son says, by the time I help you, I got to help myself. I can't help you. And he says, moon, help me. Moon can't help the stars. He goes to the sun, moon, stars. And he finally says, Eina davar tolui bi. He says, it only depends on me. And he cried to Hashem, he cried to Hashem, he cried to Hashem. He cried to Hashem so much that his neshama left him. And then a voice came out, and the guy's name was Eliezer ben Dordia. And he said, Rebbe Eliezer ben Dordia is now invited to the world to come. He walked right in. The guy did everything worse. He did 1 hour of tshuva. So the great of the generation, Rebbe the Nasi, he cried. And he says, some people work all their lives, and this guy in 1 hour, that's not, people don't understand the Gemara. If he would have taken multiple hours with the same effort that he did, he could have been the great Mar Ochma. He was a great scholar, he was a great Amora. He was also a man of the night. He became great. I could give you a couple of Bali Shuvas with the whole thing. The door is never locked on Shuva. Now, it may be difficult. And this is the mistake in the Gemara and Chagiga that Acher made. Acher, he did everything, the low-life stuff, and he heard a voice from heaven. And it said, everybody is invited to do Shuva except Acher. He didn't understand that, as far as he was. It means that a Baal Tshuva gets special siyata d'shmaya. But some guys go over to the land. Maybe the dealer is not going to have siyata d'shmaya. Because, hey, buddy, you got to be aware that you wrecked a lot of people's lives. If he's strong enough, and he has Tshuvas Mishkal, the Rabbi Nachman talks about, and he does spiritual Aikido. The bad I brought in the world, now I'm going to do the good. Take the momentum. And he does such tshuva like that. And just like I brought people down, now I'm going to go into the Bronx and I'm going to beat people up. He's going to walk right in. And he's going to get accepted. The doors of tshuva are never locked, not to the, I started, the PIMP, and not to the pusher, and not to the bank robber, not to this, and you could see. And you could encourage. My first job as a rabbi was, I had a tough internship. I was a rabbi of Ramla prison. Israeli prisons are no picnic. Take American Israeli criminals at rough tunes. Had everything behind bars. Rapists, murderers, drugs, come on. Come on, that was it. That was so hard. I gave it up after 2.5 years. I used to come home as if I ran the marathon every day. My clothes were sweat. But the one thing we did, and that's where it all started, did spiritual rehabilitation. Learn that from Rabbi Levi Yitzchok Berdichev. He says, you need 10,000 Russian cops so that people don't smuggle vodka from Russia to Poland. The Jews don't need 1 cop that they don't eat chametz on Pesach. As soon as you teach a person there's a Hashem, You don't need a penal system, you don't need jails, you don't need anything. That's the best rehab. So the gates of tshuva are open. They're not always easy, but like we said, they don't come easy. Okay, don't expect that you ruin the world, but this again, Rabbi Nachman promised, so it should. Okay? If you believe that you could ruin something, believe that you could rectify it.
And I've seen many people that work for me that were dealers. Many. I've seen this. Clients changing lives, and they were dealers. I've seen it physically. Firsthand. Many. Yes.
Hi.
Oh, did it pass your jurisdiction? Good? Okay.
You taking another job?
Go ahead.
Okay. I am very, very embarrassed to say this. I don't come from home, and I disagree with you. The gates of Teshuvah are not open. They are closed, especially for people that want to become more from. Now you keep
Hold it, wait a second, time out. The gates of tshuva, I'm talking about Hashem. I'm not talking about people. You do tshuva to people? You don't do tshuva to people, you do tshuva to Hashem. Hashem is always there for you.
No. Can I please finish? You keep on talking about emunah.
Excuse me, if you would get, you got to be ready. You want to ask tough questions? You're going to get tough answers. Okay, you want to hit? You're going to get hit back. All right? But just know, I'm not going to baby you. Not going to baby you. Going to give you the answer you need, and we're not going to play around. Go ahead, ask whatever you want,
Yes.
but be prepared to get an answer right straight back.
Okay, you keep on talking about emunah, faith, and Bitachon, trust in God. How do you get this emunah, Bitachon, and trust in God when you were not raised with this kind of thinking? Like I am sitting in this room where everybody has it. You talk about it, and like in there's people say daven. What's the purpose of davening? It's like a Hebrew speed reading contest. I don't know how to daven, so there are many areas I'm definitely lacking in. So how can somebody like me get past this? And
Did you hear Gedalia's lesson?
Yeah, you have to open up your heart. You have to open up your heart. First, you got to open up the heart, because the whole lesson was just all about that. The whole lesson.
Let me answer this one,
Just
Gedalia.
open up your heart a little bit.
Gedalia said in this lesson, don't look at anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm telling you not to look at anybody else. You got to know one thing. When you, in your heart, want to make tshuva, the game stops. Hashem says, what? My beloved son, that he grew up, he didn't even know he was Jewish, barely. He didn't know what matzah was, he didn't know what Shabbos was, he didn't know what tefillin was. Now he wants to come to me? Well, the gates are wide open. You are going to get siyata d'shmaya. Excuse me, listen. Don't do this with the head. Listen to the answer. All right, you come to me as a physical coach, and you say, I want to run the marathon, or else I check you out. You could be, show me your blood work. And you show me your blood work. Hey, come on. Your triglycerides are up in the sky. Okay, you see, I'll give you right now. Look at you, I'll tell you right now. Your triglycerides are up in the sky.
they're not.
Huh?
No, they're not.
Okay, good. Proud of you. But if they were, I tell you what to eat. And if your cholesterol is off, tell you what to eat. Maybe eat too much sugar to give you a whole thing. And if you want to run a marathon, you never ran a marathon in your life. We're going to walk around the block. And going to jog around the block. You can't start. If you start, you want to run a marathon. Don't look at people that are putting on an outer show. Do you want to know if people have emunah? There's only one test of emunah. Let them come, visit me in Israel, in Ashdod, and I live closer to Gaza than you are from here to Teaneck. Okay, by Katyush it only takes 32 seconds. We get a siren, there's 32 seconds to do it. Okay, you see a person, how does a person act when he's getting shot at? That's emunah. Not the way he's rocking back and forth. And then from Shacharis to late, from Hodu to Elena was 28 minutes. That's not emunah. Because you can't say it. But you ask a guy that has emunah, he needs 28 minutes for Shemona Esrei. Right time talks to Hashem and asks Hashem for everything. Don't look at anybody else. Start with an English sitter. Start with your own words. Start with do what you can. Get yourself.
Maybe read Garden of Emunah, get some more information, just be open-minded and see what maybe something will live with you. Right now, nobody's going to convince you because you're blocked. So
Garden of Emunah and 13 Principles of Emunah. Know what a Jew believes in.
Listen to a few classes. Just try to open up, loosen up a little bit, and then, little by little we can...
Okay, but take the negativity away. Put a smile on your face. Because if you want Hashem to be with you, don't look at people. Go with Hashem. Don't look at people. Don't look at people. Don't be dependent on somebody's okay. If a person needs somebody to say, oh, you're okay, needs an emotional handout. That's just like being a person in need of, what's the difference between an emotional handout and a monetary handout? Go with Hashem. Put a smile on your face. I guarantee you I will sign a paper. Sign a paper with my Olam Haba, and believe my Olam Haba is worth something. Okay? That's you people. I sign a paper with Olam Haba that Hashem loves you. You're his only son. And the world can't exist without you. Fact. Fact one, fact two, fact. If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I rest my case.
Next question. Go ahead. Loud? Or I'll help you.
But just 1 second, you should know that there's maybe 3% of people walk into my recovery center, do they say, I love God? They only say that 3 months after, 4 months after. I found God, I found God. I just want to go over and take the whole room, but nobody in the beginning says, I love God. It's normal to go through the process, but after 2 or 3 months, I found God, I found my Creator, but never right away. It never happens right away. Sometimes it takes 2 months to get the guy to understand a little bit. But eventually, they do get that. Eventually, that is the goal, but never right away. We can't convince people in 20 minutes to love God. Go ahead.
When does a mother's responsibility end with her children? If she's trying to teach them Torah and teach them mitzvahs, but they keep rebelling, especially in the teenage years, how much does she have to push, and where does her responsibility end?
Go ahead.
Okay, here's the thing. When parents try to push and the kids are off, you don't push. Chinuch is parental example. If you live it, you can give it. If you don't live it, you can't give it. What's parental example? Your kids are looking, what does Abba do the first thing in the morning? Does he open up a Gemara Baba Kama? Does he go in the backyard and talk to Hashem? Or does he open up the Wall Street Journal with a cup of coffee? If he opens up the Wall Street Journal, that's exactly what they want to do. If Abba gets upset when a glass is broken or something, there's a $5 monetary loss, but he doesn't get upset when, okay, something that mitzvah wasn't done exactly right. The kids are analytic, and kids hate hypocrisy. It's not don't do me what to do. I can't see it. Kids want to see if the parents are real deal. If mom lights Shabbos candles, and she's got a smile on her face and tears in her eyes, and she's begging Hashem for the good of her husband, for the good of her kids, one by one, and they look, mom is so gorgeous. She's so attached to Hashem. I want to be just like mom. When the kids go to shul, and they hear dad talking about the stock market, what? In shul? Or dad takes his cell phone to the stock market, and Milish Manaisre, he's looking at his Twitter or his email or whatnot. They see that's more important than Hashem. No, we don't even take our cell phone. Okay, so look in, how does mom serve Hashem? How does dad serve Hashem? Don't say a word to the kids. If you want to educate kids, first we have to educate ourselves. When we educate ourselves, the kids are going to fall just into place. Don't have to say a word. And if you say a word with 21st century adolescents, they're going to do the exact opposite.
You want to see?
Yeah, same thing. Demonstrate, don't instruct. I mean, that's the key.
I have one question.
Yes. Is he permitted? Yeah.
Okay. So you said that we should serve Hashem. Is rizut?
Zerizut.
What if we like
excitement?
Excitement, though, I got you.
Excitement, not fast. Excitement.
Quick. It means that we can do things even slow. Like somebody's excited to do things slowly.
Okay. Come talk. Like Joe Biden, right? Okay, good. He's also very slow. We can see what we're there. Hashem should give you guys all a bracha. You should have a lot of hatzlacha tomorrow night. Hashem. We should learn for the city. Don't copy Florida. Go ahead. No, don't copy Florida.
And the Q&A or a few more?
Two more.
Yeah, we'll do 5 more and that'll be it. Right?
right? I have a quick question. So I heard Rav Shalom Arush speak about that when Moshe Rabbeinu commanded us to pray, he told us, he didn't hand us Sidurim. He gave us, he said, speak from the heart, to people to do it, essentially. If somebody is at the point where they're doing an hour of people to do every single day, I've spoken to you about this before, but is like, what is, like, why is it still a necessity for that person to
pray from a siddur?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is for the recording, if people are doing an hour of personal prayer, are they still required to read from a text to pray and connect to God through? Right?
I mean, personally, I get you. I understand. My sessions are much more powerful than the Siddur, but you still have to follow, the order of the Knesset Yisrael. But definitely, I see 10 times more energy from my Hisbodedut than I do from the Siddur, 100%. And I think if you get to that level,
Can you just define Hisbodedut for that?
Hisbodedut is having a conversation with God, my power hour. That's what I call it. That I definitely get tremendously much more emotions, and I put music on. I free, it's a whole different world. But I still do the other three prayers. But I don't get the same energy as the other ones. I can't compare it. But it is required, and it does improve the prayer, though.
Well, there's something else. We're different. I'm different than Gedale. I'm just as fired up in the Shema Yisrael as I'm in Hibodut. Okay? When you come to Shema Kuleinu and ask what you want, Choinen Adat. You know what it means, Choinen Adat? What's the Prophet Ishayahu says on the opening, he says, Amiloid Bonan. Talk about all the destruction, the first temple destruction, and he said, why all this? My people didn't observe. What are you saying? People go through, thanks for the grub, yay Hashem. That's the Birkat HaMazon. Okay? But the same with the Shemona Yisrael. Choinen Adat. Hashem's giving me my brain power, my understanding. Hashem, Choinen Adat. Give me the understanding that it should put divine understanding. You'd understand to feel that you're right there with me. Hashem, Hashivenu Avinu L'Sarasecha. You come and you do tshuva you'll say one other thing that Rav Shalom will tell you. Rav Shalom will tell you, for somebody that says Shmona Yisrael, this is Rav Shalom's words, for someone that says Shmona Yisrael with Kavona, there's no difference between Yom Kippur and every day of the week. Because he's a tshuva every single day. You have daily vitamins. Your Shmona Yisrael is a multiple vitamin, the different parts of your neshama, and that is why the Anshe Knesset Gdolah, they codify the Shemona Yisrael the way it is, because this is what the neshama needs. Now maybe you cognizantly, you're not there, you're not wherever your neshama. Neshama's a part of Hashem. You say, what I need, but we give what our neshama needs. When you say every single word, and you focus on every single word, wow, it becomes with the difference that it's no different between people doing. Okay, don't put the music on, and sometimes feel like dancing, but don't dance. Because one thing, tone it down. Don't put on a show for people, and you keep the fire. And then you do the energy. You go out in the field. In the field, do whatever you want.
Go ahead, Lab.
That one I do spend a lot of time.
If somebody's already in a bad place, in a parent or a friend, how can they have a responsibility? What should they do to help get that person to where they need to be? What's their obligation for somebody else, if it's not for yourself? If you're a parent and the kid's already way gone in a bad place, if they're already.
What's the question?
So what's the exact question?
What can she do to make
The kid better?
make it better? Not make it better. What can she do for herself, I guess?
How she feels better, or what she can do for the kid?
Can she help him? If the person is not really functioning properly,
Right.
If
First,
maybe
could she help the child?
Maybe in a deep depression, your family member that's in a deep depression.
This is your feedback.
The mother or the child.
The mother of the child is in a deep depression. What could she do? Again, the number one thing is accept the situation. Because without any time we're fighting a situation, that's what's causing the suffering. Let's say we all have people in our family that are not happy, and we can't change people. We can only send them love and pray for them. But when you're dealing with people with low self-esteem, they usually don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that they're miserable. Why are you being miserable? They already know they're miserable. So I would say give them space, pray for them, offer a third-party counselor, maybe a therapist, and pray for them. But you don't push your agenda, because they're not going to want to deal with you.
Go ahead.
Good. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you for coming to Staten.
No problem. Shechianu.
I'm not trying to be funny. I'm cryptically.
Be funny, it's okay. It's almost 11 o'clock and we're in Staten Island. That's pretty funny. That is extremely funny.
What advice would you give Cinderella?
What advice would I give Cinderella?
There's a reason I'm asking.
To get out of Disney, first of all. To get out of Disney. That's the first thing. What advice would I give Cinderella?
Change the movie.
Yeah, change the movie. Oh, there you go. You got my line. Beautiful. I would tell her to change the beauty, change the movie into seeing the Beauty and the Beast. She's in the wrong movie. Change it to finding the Beauty and the Beast. So if she's looking for the missing Louboutin, the missing shoe, that's never going to come. She's going to meet somebody else, and she's got to see the good points in that beast. Change the movie, I would say.
Find Nemo.
Huh?
Find Nemo.
Right. Define Cinderella. A spoiled kid? What's the story? No, I'm like 40, almost 45 years old. I don't remember these movies anymore. I do, but they're not watching Cinderella. They're watching other things. Toy Story or something else.
She always does everything to make fun of her. She's always put down.
Oh, she's always put down. Like the Frozen girl, right? Like the Frozen one?
No.
She was like a skin out. She was like a slow monster.
She had bad stuff to say.
Oh, to build her self-esteem. To build her self-esteem. What else could there be? To build her false. I don't know the movie. I'm sorry. I don't know the movie. There's enough movies already out there. I don't know the movie. Cinderella. What would you tell Cinderella?
That's right.
I told her to get out of Disney first, and then the rest.
The one who's always put down and made fun of and stepped out.
The answer.
Okay.
He's got something.
What's a good point?
2 more questions.
What is she outstanding in? She probably had a great heart. Wow.
Tries to please, good heart, good person, and
Wow.
it's an abusive situation.
Wow.
Self-esteem.
Okay. It's going to really build her up. Build on that point. Like I told one of the guys, if you're 5'8", you're not meant to play in the NBA. If you're not Miss Twiggy, then you're not meant to be Miss America, and Hashem doesn't want you flaunting your body anyway. If you got a good heart, maybe you're going to get a great guy, and maybe you'll give birth to Mashiach. Go for a good point. Go for a good point. A good heart. Look at this world. It's so good. You grow with a good heart. Look what she can do. Look what she could do. Look at the amazing things she could do.
But how does she deal with her? That's her house. That's her home.
How do you deal with your surroundings that are constantly pushing her down?
Abusive relationships.
Abusive.
She needs therapy. Look, she needs therapy. She needs extensive therapy.
She's supposed to be grateful and say thank you. This is where Hashem.
What's her? How old is she?
How old is she? How old is Cinderella, aka Cinderella? She's an adult?
She's an adult.
It's a whole different story.
Okay.
The Gemara says, Mishnah Makom, Mishnah Mazal. Tell people, if there's one thing, if she has a alternative, or not an alternative, in other words, someone has an abusive boss, but they don't have another job. That means that Hashem has locked them in a situation, now we got to deal with it. Okay? But if someone has an abusive boss and Hashem sends him 3 job offers somewhere else, Hashem doesn't expect us to be masochists. Okay? If she deals with abusive friends, maybe she's picked the wrong friends. Maybe she picked... Huh?
Family.
Family that's abusive?
Yes.
Okay, family should learn Shulchan Aruch, that the laws of, okay, all right, but here's the thing, there is no law, I'll give you an example. I get young people with abusive parents, young adults with abusive parents or parents that mix in with their lives, this and that, and they say, how do I fulfill the commandment of honoring my parents?
Now we're getting towards what.
Okay, good. Okay, so you pray for the parent, but if that parent is abusive, there is no duty to a child to be a masochist. There's no duty to a child, an adult child, to subject up to abusiveness. And sometimes the parent is abusive to the son-in-law or the daughter-in-law. And the son or the daughter should say, Mom and Dad, you don't speak to my spouse like this, because I have to grow up to 120. And anyone, including Mom and Dad, that speaks to my spouse disrespectfully, we're not going to have dinner together, we're not going to have visits together. And it's not a matter of emotional blackmail. It's just a matter of preventing abuse. If you have a way to prevent abuse, you don't subject yourself to an abusive individual. And a parent doesn't have a right to abuse a child. Parents think child belongs to them. The mitzvah of loving your neighbors yourself, there's a mitzvah in the Torah, a mitzvah called onas dvarim. It is worse than eating pork to cause pain to another Jew. That person eats pork, it's easy, it's fast forgiveness for Shem. But Yom Kippur doesn't help a person for pain to another Jew. You have to forgiveness to the other Jew. Okay, so this young lady, if her parents are tearing her down, and her parents are destroying her self-image, that's...
But sometimes there is a case where you have to review, you have to see the whole case, because there's a lot of times where, she'll tell, if the parent is saying, go get a job, you're abusing me, you're throwing me out. It's very important to go into, get the right therapist, go into the details, family therapist, because sometimes you'll see the story, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. So this is not all the same. I've seen 50% one way, 50% other way. You need a family therapist, you need group therapy, and you need a common goal, and then the work has to begin, obviously. We'll just take one more.
We'll wrap it up after. We'll talk later.
Again, first you have to stop the storm. First you have to stop the storm. And then once you stop the storm, then you could start, we can't fix the roof when it's raining. There's a time to go build. First you have to get the right instructions, get the right therapist, get the right diagnosis, and then, I've seen tons of times with kids need medication sometimes. Parents need medication. There's a million cases in this story that could go one way or the other, and it's very, I don't want to give you the wrong answer on unlimited facts.
Go ahead, quick.
Last question. Good?
Last question.
Yes.
Okay. It's an inverse question. The question was asked here. So for me, I feel fire when I'm doing Shmoneh Esrei, when I'm doing my prayers, and I, Baruch Hashem, speak to Hashem pretty regularly, but I have a struggle doing it in advance, planning what I do. When I get into what I do, all of a sudden I freeze under the spotlight, don't know what to say, end up just apologizing for everything that I've done wrong, and
Right.
I don't know what to do.
Just some common tips that I can recommend. First, pick a location, pick a time that you're in that space. Because for example, in New York, I try to do it. I got subways, trains. My whole head is all over the place. Timing, going to sleep. There's a lot of gas going on here. So you really need your shuva dat. So pick up first, in order to just get the best effects of this, location, time, frequency. You understand? That in the beginning, that usually opens you up because you're in that same space. Now, usually in time, sometimes when you have nothing to say, creator of the world, I want to talk to you. You told me how great it is well to do this. You told me it could change my whole life. Rav Nachman said it's higher than everything. please open up my mouth. Another thing I can recommend you is read the 50th Gate by Rav Nassan. He has prayers. Or Tehillim. Anything to warm you up. Just like if you're working out. You can't sometimes work out. Sometimes you got to stretch. Sometimes you got to go on the treadmill a little bit just to get motion. Once you usually get in motion, sometimes I'll go into breathing. Every day depends on the mood, situation, what's happening in my life. No 2 days are the same, so this is not really a cookie cutter thing. No 2 days in your life are going to be the same. Every single day is going to be completely different. There's going to be a new challenge. That's going to be where you approach God. But the whole point of this whole situation is not to score. It's to display your emunah and your belief that this works. Talking to my Creator works, and when I speak things out, I get it out of my system. I don't hold it in anymore. So the whole concept behind this is I can really go to a place where I let it out, and you feel much lighter. Now, if you have nothing to say, breathe, jump, dance, scream. I've done it all. And then sometimes the words come out, sometimes they don't. And then you continue.
Add another ploy. Suppose an angel revealed himself to you. And he said, if you've got an hour, and you've got an hour to thank me for every gift in life. And what you don't thank me, you can take it away. Wow. Hashem, thank you for my brain. And you better learn anatomy in the bathroom. We can't learn Torah. Cerebellum, cerebrum, patella. Hashem, thank you for my eyesight. Thank you for my cornea. Hashem, thank you. Okay, without that pressure, when I get tongue-tied, and it happens a lot, you fan. By the time you get out to the field, and okay, checklist. We're about to take off. We can't take off. What does a pilot do? Starboard engine. Port engine, button, high pressure, low pressure, hydraulic pressure. Hashem, thank you for the eyes. Hashem, thank you for my breathing. Hashem, thank you for my teeth. Hashem, by the time you get to your ribs, you're going to forget about the thank you. The legs always get left out. That's why persons have knee problems, because by the time they don't get down there. Okay? Because by the time that they're so enamored by thanking Hashem, wow, look at the gifts I got from Hashem today that otherwise they would take for granted. They go to dude. And that warms you up really quick, the gratitude.